I'm 28 years old, working really hard as a marketing executive, and dealing with a chronic illness that makes every day tough. But the hardest part of my life isn't that, it's my family. I have a younger sister, Clara, who's 25, and she's the favorite. My parents, John and Linda, absolutely adore her. As for me, I'm lucky if they even notice I'm there. Just last week, I finally got the promotion I've been working so hard for. I was excited, so I called home to share the news. Mom, guess what? I got the promotion. Oh, that's nice, dear, she replied. Did you hear Clara's boyfriend took her to that new fancy restaurant downtown? And just like that, my big moment was ignored. It's always like this. Then, the big news came. At a family dinner, Clara came in, waving her hand around. I'm engaged, Rick proposed. Everyone was cheering, Mom was crying, and Dad opened a bottle of champagne. Meanwhile, I was trying to hide my discomfort as pain from my illness flared up, not that anyone noticed. We need to start planning right away, Mom said excitedly. Miriam, clear your schedule, we'll need all the help we can get. I wanted to remind them about my health, but why bother? They'd just say I was being dramatic. The next few weeks were a blur of wedding catalogs, visiting venues, and endless talks about flowers and dresses. No one really asked my opinion, and when they did, it was quickly shut down. No, Miriam, we can't have lilies, Clara's allergic, remember? Of course, I remembered. I was the one who had rushed her to the hospital twice, because of it. But if I suggested something that didn't fit Clara's perfect wedding plans, it was immediately dismissed. One day, during one of those exhausting planning meetings, I decided to escape to my favorite coffee shop. That's where I met Ben. He noticed me struggling as I reached for my coffee. Are you okay? He asked, genuinely concerned. For once, someone was actually paying attention to me. We started talking, and I found out he was a doctor. When I mentioned my illness, he didn't brush it off or change the subject, he listened. We ended up chatting for hours. Ben became my safe space in the middle of all the wedding chaos. He understood my health issues, respected my job, and actually cared about my thoughts. It was a breath of fresh air. Then came the surprise. Clara approached me one day, beaming with excitement. Miriam, I want you to be my maid of honor. I was shocked. We hardly talked outside of family events, and now she wanted me to play such a big role in her wedding. Are you sure? We're not really close, Clara. Don't be silly, she said. You're my sister, it's tradition. And there it was, not because she valued our relationship, but because it was what people expected. I wanted to say no to Clara's offer to be her maid of honor, to protect myself from all the stress I knew it would bring, but the look on my parents' faces told me that saying no wasn't an option. So, here I am, about to take on the role of maid of honor for a sister who hardly knows me, in a wedding planned by parents who barely notice me. All this, while trying to keep up with my demanding job and manage my chronic illness. But at least I have Ben. Maybe things are finally looking up. Little did I know, the worst was still ahead. The big day arrived. I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck, but I got out of bed anyway. I wasn't going to give anyone another reason to call me dramatic. I forced a smile as I helped Clara into her wedding dress. You look beautiful, I said, and I meant it. No matter what, she was still my sister. Thanks, she replied, barely looking at me. Just don't mess up your makeup crying during the ceremony. I want the photos to be perfect. The ceremony went by in a blur of white lace and teary vows. I stood there, holding my bouquet, feeling worse by the minute, but I kept it together. I had to. At the reception, I found Ben sitting at our table. You okay? He asked, holding my hand. You look pale. I'm fine, I lied. Just need to get through this. Suddenly, my mom appeared and grabbed my arm. Miriam, it's time for your speech. Don't embarrass your sister. I stood up, feeling a little unsteady as I made my way to the microphone. The room was spinning. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. The last thing I remember was the floor rushing up toward me. I woke up to see Ben's worried face hovering above me. Miriam, can you hear me? He asked. What happened? I mumbled. You collapsed, Ben said. We need to get you to a hospital. That's when I heard my mother's sharp voice. Oh, for heaven's sake, Miriam, get up, you're making a scene. I tried to sit up, but the pain was too much. Mom, I really don't feel good. It's probably just nerves, my dad chimed in. Walk it off. Ben stood up, looking serious. She needs medical attention right now. Clara rushed over, her wedding dress rustling. Miriam, what are you doing? This is my wedding day. I'm sorry, I gasped. I didn't mean to. You never mean to, Clara snapped, but somehow, you always manage to steal the spotlight. Can't you let me have one day? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You think I planned this? My mom stepped in. Miriam, that's enough. We're not leaving your sister's wedding. Stop being so dramatic and get back to your seat. Ben's voice cut through the noise. If you won't take her seriously, I'll be fine, Dad said. Take her if you have to, but don't expect us to leave the reception. As Ben helped me up, I looked at my family. They were already turning away, putting on fake smiles for the guests. Clara was back on the dance floor, laughing like nothing had happened. The drive to the hospital was a painful blur, both physically and emotionally. How could they just leave me like that? In the emergency room, doctors hurried to hook me up to machines, while Ben stayed by my side, holding my hand through it all. Finally, a doctor came over with my test results. Miss Thompson, you're having a serious flare-up of your condition. It's a good thing you came in when you did. This could have been very dangerous if left untreated. I let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, good thing. As the nurses got me settled into a room for overnight observation, I couldn't stop thinking about my family, still at the wedding, dancing and celebrating while I was lying in a hospital bed. Ben squeezed my hand. I'm so sorry, Miriam, you deserve better than that. For the first time that day, I allowed myself to cry. Why don't they care, Ben? Am I really that unimportant to them? He didn't have an answer, and neither did I, but as I lay there, hooked up to IVs and monitors, one thing became clear: I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't keep putting myself last for people who wouldn't even leave a party to take me to the hospital. As I drifted off to sleep, I made a promise to myself. Things were going to change. I just had to figure out how. A week in the hospital felt like forever. The only good thing was Ben, who visited every day, bringing me books and keeping me company. Not once did my family show up or even call. When I finally got discharged, I went home, completely drained, both physically and emotionally. When I opened the door, Mom, Dad, and Clara were sitting in the living room, acting like it was just another day. Oh, you're back, Mom said, barely looking up from her magazine. There's laundry that needs doing. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you serious right now? I just got out of the hospital. Dad cleared his throat. About that, Miriam, we think you owe your sister an apology for ruining her wedding. Clara nodded, her face full of fake hurt. Do you know how embarrassing that was? Everyone was talking about it. Something inside me snapped. Apologize? I nearly died, and you want me to apologize? Don't be so dramatic, Mom sighed. It's always something with you, isn't it? That was it, the final straw. I'm done, I said, my voice shaking. I'm done with all this toxicity. I'm out of here. I stormed to my room, threw some clothes into a bag, and walked out. They didn't even try to stop me. Ben was waiting outside in his car. One look at my face, and he knew. You're staying with me, he said. It wasn't a question. The next few weeks passed in a blur of doctor's appointments and work. I threw myself into my job, determined to prove that I could succeed without my family's so-called support. One day, I was going through some old papers when I found documents about a trust fund in my name. Curious, I called the bank. I'm sorry, Miss Thompson, but that account has been almost drained, the banker said. My head was spinning. That's impossible. I've never touched it. After some digging, I discovered the ugly truth. My parents had been taking money from my trust fund for years, using it to pay for Clara's expensive lifestyle. I felt sick. Not only had they neglected me emotionally, but they had also been stealing from me. I knew I needed help, so I called a lawyer named Tom. After reviewing the documents, Tom looked serious. This is a big deal, Miriam. Your parents could face criminal charges for this. Part of me wanted to let it go, to just walk away, but a stronger part of me was done being pushed around. What do we do? I asked. Tom leaned forward. We investigate, we gather evidence, and then we make them face the consequences of what they've done. As I nodded, I felt a mix of sadness and determination. This wasn't how I imagined my life would turn out, but I knew it had to be done. For once, I was standing up for myself. That night, as Ben and I sat on his couch, I couldn't help but reflect on everything. You okay? Ben asked, wrapping his arm around me. I don't know, I admitted. I'm angry and hurt, but I also feel free. Is that strange? He shook his head. Not at all. You're finally putting yourself first, And that's a good thing. I leaned into him, realizing he was right. For the first time in my life, I was prioritizing my own well-being. It felt scary, but right. Whatever happens next, I said, I'm ready. Little did I know, the storm that was about to hit my family would change everything, but this time, I wouldn't be the one suffering. This time, I would be the one in control. As the weeks turned into months, my life changed dramatically. I landed the biggest client of my career, putting me on the fast track for an executive position. The day I signed the contract, I thought about how my family would have brushed this off, but Ben, he threw me a surprise party. I'm so proud of you, he said, handing me a glass of champagne. You deserve this. Then, on a quiet Sunday morning, Ben got down on one knee. Miriam, will you marry me? With tears in my eyes, I said yes. We decided to have a small, intimate wedding, everything my sister's wedding wasn't. Meanwhile, Tom had been investigating my family's finances. One day, he called me into his office, looking grim. Miriam, it's worse than we thought. Your father has been embezzling money from his company to fund Clara's lifestyle. I felt sick to my stomach. What do we do? Tom laid out the options, and after a sleepless night, I made my decision. I anonymously tipped off my dad's company about the embezzlement. The fallout was quick and harsh. Dad was fired and faced criminal charges. Our family name, once respected, was now ruined in our community. Then I got a call from Mom. Miriam, please, we need your help. Your father, the company is pressing charges. I took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Mom, I can't help you. But we're family, she cried. Family doesn't treat each other the way you treated me, I replied, and hung up. Next was Clara. Her perfect life had fallen apart. Rick had left her, and without Dad's stolen money, she couldn't keep up her fancy lifestyle. Miriam, I'm so sorry, she sobbed over the phone. I didn't know about the money. Please, can we start over? Part of me wanted to forgive her, to be the bigger person, but then I remembered all the years of neglect, of always being second. I'm sorry, Clara, I can't do this anymore. I wish you the best, but I need to focus on my own life now. When I hung up, I felt lighter, like a burden had been lifted. For the first time, I had chosen myself. The day of my wedding finally arrived. It was nothing like Clara's big, over-the-top event, just me, Ben, and our closest friends in a beautiful garden. As I walked down the aisle, all I saw in Ben's eyes was love, no judgment, no comparison, just pure acceptance. I do, I said, my voice strong and sure. At the reception, I looked around at the small gathering. These were people who truly cared about me, who had stood by me through everything. My colleague Sarah raised a toast. To Miriam and Ben, two of the kindest, strongest people I know. May your life together be filled with love and respect. As Ben and I swayed during our first dance, I thought about the journey that had brought me here. What are you thinking about? Ben asked softly. I'm thinking about how far I've come, I replied, and how excited I am for our future. He smiled and pulled me closer. Me too. I love you, Miriam. I love you too, I said, and I meant it, not just the words, but the promise of a life where I was valued, respected, and loved unconditionally. As the night came to an end, I felt a deep sense of peace. My family's actions had consequences, but I no longer felt responsible for fixing their mistakes. I had my own life to live, my own family to build, with Ben by my side. Looking at my new husband, I smiled. The road ahead might not be perfect, but I knew one thing for sure, I would face it on my own terms, surrounded by people who truly loved me, and that, I realized, was the sweetest justice of all.
The sound of shattering glass echoed through our marble-floored kitchen as I ducked, the crystal vase missing my head by inches. My hands trembled, but my voice remained steady. That's the last time you'll ever throw anything at me, Dwayne. I'm Violet, and until that moment, I'd been the perfect society wife everyone expected me to be. Poised, polished, and above all quiet about what happened behind closed doors. You ungrateful bitch, Dwayne snarled, his perfectly pressed suit wrinkled from his sudden movement. After everything I've given you? Given me? I touched the fading bruise on my collarbone, hidden beneath my silk blouse. You mean like this? His face contorted, that familiar darkness creeping into his eyes. But this time, I didn't flinch. I'd already called the police. They were on their way. Nobody will believe you, he sneered, stepping closer. Your own family won't believe you. The doorbell rang, making us both freeze. Through the window, I caught glimpses of red and blue lights. They already do, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. What followed was a blur of statements and photographs. The officers were professional, documenting everything while Dwayne maintained his composed facade. My wife is confused, he kept saying. She's been under a lot of stress lately. My phone buzzed incessantly. Mother, father, their carefully crafted world was already crumbling. Answer it, Dwayne taunted as the officers led him away. See what your precious family thinks about this spectacle. I did, later that evening, in my parents' mahogany-lined study. Mother sat rigid in her armchair, while father paced behind his desk. Retract the charges, Mother said, her voice ice-cold. We can handle this privately. Handle it? I laughed, the sound foreign even to my ears. Like we handled it when Cousin Sarah's husband broke her arm? Or when... Enough! Father slammed his hand on the desk. You will not destroy this family's reputation with your accusations. They're not accusations. They're facts. I have proof. Mother's perfectly manicured fingers gripped her armrest. Darling, every marriage has its difficulties, but we don't air our dirty laundry in public. This isn't about dirty laundry. I stood up, my legs surprisingly steady. This is about abuse, about violence, about you being dramatic, Father cut in. If you proceed with this, you'll destroy everything we've built, everything we've protected. Protected? The word tasted bitter. You mean everything you've hidden. Mother rose, her silk dress rustling. You have a choice to make, Violet. Either you drop this nonsense and we'll help you and Dwayne work through your issues, or what? Or you're no longer part of this family. The silence that followed felt endless. I looked at them both. These people who'd raised me, who'd taught me to value appearance above all else, who'd watch me suffer rather than risk their precious reputation. You know what he did to me, I whispered. What we know, Father said, straightening his tie, is that you're being hysterical. Think carefully about your next move, Violet. Once certain doors close, they don't open again. I stood up, smoothing my skirt, a habit Mother had drilled into me since childhood. Then I guess this is goodbye. Don't be ridiculous, Mother snapped. Sit down, we'll discuss this rationally. But I was already walking toward the door. Behind me, Father's voice carried that familiar tone of authority. If you walk out that door, you're cutting yourself off from everything. Your accounts, your inheritance, your place in this family. I paused at the threshold, my hand on the doorknob. You know what's funny? I always thought family was supposed to protect each other, not the family name. Violet, Mother started. Goodbye, Mother, Father. I stepped through the doorway. I hope your reputation keeps you warm at night. The heavy door closed behind me with a final click. In the grand foyer, surrounded by generations of family portraits, I allowed myself one last look at the life I was leaving behind. My hand brushed against my collarbone, where Dwayne's last gift still throbbed. Outside, the summer evening was warm, but I shivered. My car, or rather Dwayne's car, sat in the circular driveway. I walked past it. I had nothing but my purse, my phone, and the clothes I wore. But for the first time in years, I could breathe. As I walked down the long driveway, past the manicured gardens and ornate gates, I heard Mother calling from the doorway. I didn't look back. Some doors, once closed, shouldn't be reopened, and some bridges need to burn so you can build something better from their ashes. The women's shelter smelled like industrial cleaner and burnt coffee. I sat on a thin mattress, staring at the few belongings I'd managed to buy with the cash from my emergency fund. A toothbrush, some clothes from Target, basic necessities that felt foreign after years of designer labels. First night's always the hardest, a voice said from the doorway. A woman about my age leaned against the frame, her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. I'm Marley. Violet, I replied, forcing a smile. That obvious, huh? She sat down on the bed across from mine. You've got that deer in headlights look we all had at first. Plus, those shoes probably cost more than my car. I looked down at my Jimmy Choos and laughed for the first time in days. They're not very practical for homelessness, are they? Neither is that watch, she pointed to my wrist. You might want to hide that before someone gets ideas. I slipped the watch off, tucking it into my bag. Thanks, I'm not very good at this yet. Nobody is at first. Marley pulled up her sleeve, revealing a faded scar. 2 years ago, I was a kindergarten teacher with a husband who liked to use me as a punching bag. Now I counsel other women here. How did you... I gestured vaguely at the shelter around us. Survive? Rebuild? Stop feeling like my whole world had ended? She smiled. One day at a time, and lots of help from people who'd been there before. The next few weeks passed in a blur of job applications and counseling sessions. I sold my watch, my shoes, everything of value except my wedding ring. That I threw into the river one night while Marley watched. Feel better? She asked as we sat on the riverbank. I don't know what I feel anymore. I hugged my knees to my chest. Yesterday I saw my mother at the grocery store. She looked right through me like I was a ghost. Family can be the worst betrayal, Marley said quietly. But you know what helps? Turning that pain into purpose. I turned to look at her. What do you mean? She pulled out her phone, showing me a news article. See this? Another woman died last week. Her family knew about the abuse but didn't want to cause a scandal. Sound familiar? My throat tightened. Too familiar. You know what these women need? Someone who understands both worlds. The fancy galas where everyone pretends everything's perfect, and the reality of sleeping in a shelter because the alternative might kill you. I sat up straighter. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we do something. Use your connections, my experience. Create something to help women like us, especially the ones trapped in golden cages. The idea took root, growing stronger each day. We spent nights planning over cheap coffee, drawing up proposals, researching grants. One morning, while helping a new arrival settle in, everything clicked. The woman, Sarah, clutched a designer handbag that couldn't hide her black eye. My family says I'm overreacting, she whispered, that these things happen in marriage. Let me guess, I said, sitting beside her. They care more about their country club membership than your safety? Her head snapped up. How did you... Because I lived it. But Sarah, you're not alone anymore. That evening, I called the one person from my old life who might still talk to me, my old college roommate, now a successful lawyer. Violet? Her voice was cautious. Are you okay? Better than okay, Rachel. I need your help setting up a non-profit. We're going to help women escape domestic violence, especially in high society circles where everyone pretends it doesn't exist. There was a long pause. Your family will hate this. They already hate me. Might as well make it count for something. She sighed. Then I heard papers rustling. Give me an hour to clear my schedule. This needs to be done right. 3 months later, Golden Cage Survivors had its first office, a tiny space above a coffee shop. Marley handled the counseling while I worked my old social connections, carefully building a network of supporters who valued truth over appearances. Our first success story was Sarah. She stood in our office, keys to her new apartment in hand, tears streaming down her face. I never thought I'd be strong enough, she said. I hugged her tight. You always were. You just needed someone to remind you. That night, Marley and I celebrated with takeout Chinese food in our shared apartment. You know this is just the beginning, right? She said, raising her paper cup of wine. We're going to change lives. I thought about my mother, my father, Dwayne, all the people who'd tried to keep me quiet. No, I replied, clinking my cup against hers. We're going to change the whole damn system. Ms. Bennett? The voice made me freeze halfway through sorting donation boxes. A man in a well-fitted suit stood in our office doorway, press badge hanging from his neck. I'm David Lowe from the Daily Chronicle. We're closed, I said, turning back to the boxes. Actually, I'm here about your family. He stepped inside, uninvited. Interesting how the Bennetts' charitable donations dropped significantly, right after their daughter disappeared from society events. Marley appeared from the back room, her protective instincts kicking in. Sir, you need to leave. Just a few questions, he persisted, pulling out a notebook. Like why a woman from one of the city's wealthiest families is running a domestic violence nonprofit from above a coffee shop? I straightened up, meeting his eyes. That's not a story worth your time. I disagree. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Especially since your ex-husband just made partner at his law firm. Quite a comeback after those charges were mysteriously dropped. The donation box crumpled under my grip. Get out. The public has a right to know that we helped 38 women escape abuse last month. Marley cut in. That's your story. Take it or leave it. After he left, I slumped against the wall. He's not going away. Then we'll deal with it, Marley said firmly, like we deal with everything else. But dealing with it became complicated when our biggest donor called that afternoon. Violet, darling. Vanessa's voice dripped honey through the phone. I just had the most interesting lunch with Margaret Wellington. My stomach dropped. Margaret was my mother's closest friend. She seems concerned about your organization's reputation. Our reputation is helping women survive, Vanessa. Of course, dear. But perhaps we could be more discreet? Some of these women come from very prominent families. That's exactly why we need to be visible, I argued. The silence is what keeps women trapped. Speaking of visibility, she continued as if I hadn't spoken, the annual charity circuit is approaching. Golden Cage survivors should have a presence. We can't afford, I'll sponsor it. Consider it an investment in our shared future. After hanging up, I found Marley stress-eating donuts in the break room. That reporter's article just went live, she said, turning her phone screen toward me. Society Iris turns family scandal into charitable venture. It's not terrible, I said, scanning the text. At least he included our mission statement. Keep reading. Sources close to the Bennett family suggest the organization may be a calculated move for revenge rather than genuine charitable work. Calculated revenge? I laughed bitterly. They think I chose homelessness and poverty for revenge? The office door chimed. Rachel burst in, legal papers in hand. We have a problem. Your ex-husband's firm is representing 3 families threatening to sue us for interference in private family matters. They can't do that, Marley protested. We follow every legal protocol. They can try, Rachel said grimly. And they have the money to make it stick. I thought of Vanessa's offer. What if we went public? Really public? What do you mean? Rachel asked. A charity gala, full media coverage. Make it impossible for them to shut us down quietly. Marley's eyes widened. That's either brilliant or suicide. Maybe both, I admitted. But we have Vanessa's backing, and if we're loud enough, they can't make us disappear. Rachel tapped her pen against the papers. It would force them to either publicly support abuse or publicly oppose a domestic violence charity. Clever. It's risky, Marley warned. My family made their choice. I grabbed my coat. I need to see someone first. An hour later, I stood outside David's office at the Chronicle. Come to threaten legal action? He asked without looking up from his computer. Come to offer you an exclusive. That got his attention. But first, we talk about your real motivation for that article. He leaned back in his chair. Meaning? Meaning you didn't stumble onto this story by accident. Someone pointed you our way. I want to know who. You know I can't reveal. Then I'll tell you. Margaret Wellington, right? My mother's friend who's been trying to dig up dirt on me since I left. His silence was answer enough. Here's the deal, I continued. You want a real story? Come to our gala next month. You'll get your headline, but you print the truth, not whatever narrative they're feeding you. And what is the truth, Ms. Bennett? I stood to leave. That some families will sacrifice their daughters to protect their reputation, and some daughters refuse to be sacrificed. At the door, I turned back. Oh, and David? Next time you write about us, remember, we keep detailed records of every threat, every attempt to silence us. That might make an interesting follow-up story. The Grand Plaza Hotel's marble floors still felt familiar under my heels as I followed Vanessa through the lobby. 2 years away hadn't changed the way money smelled, like expensive perfume and privilege. The ballroom can hold 500, Vanessa said, gesturing grandly. I've already secured commitments from most of the major families. Most? I raised an eyebrow. Well, she smoothed her blazer, Some are hesitant, given the circumstances. You mean my family threatened them? A server approached with champagne. Vanessa took 2 glasses, handed me one. Actually, darling, they're coming. The champagne caught in my throat. What? Your parents RSVP'd this morning. Your father's firm is buying 2 tables. My hands trembled so badly I had to set the glass down. They're trying to control the narrative. Obviously, Vanessa's perfectly painted lips curved into a smile. The question is, are you ready to control it instead? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Marley's text read, "Emergency, office, now." I found her pacing our small office while Sarah, our former client, sat crying on the couch. "They're threatening to take my daughter," Sarah choked out. "My ex's lawyer says they have proof I'm unstable." "Let me guess," I said. "Dwayne's firm?" She nodded. "They're trying to scare us before the gala," Marley said, hands clenched. "Show us what they can do." I knelt in front of Sarah. "Listen to me. They don't have anything. You're stable, employed, and your daughter is thriving. This is just intimidation." "But his lawyers are about to learn why you don't poke a mama bear." I pulled out my phone, dialing Rachel. "Get ready for court. They want to play dirty? Let's show them our files on their star partner's abuse record." After calming Sarah down and setting up an emergency hearing, I found David waiting outside our office. "Interesting timing," I said. "Here to document their latest attack?" "Actually," he pulled out his recorder, "I'm here about your mother's recent donation to your ex-husband's firm's charitable foundation. $30 million specifically earmarked for family preservation programs." My laugh sounded hollow even to me. "Family preservation, is that what we're calling it now?" "Care to comment?" "Yes," I met his eyes. "Print this. Golden Cage Survivors cordially invites Mrs. Bennett to explain her definition of family preservation at our upcoming gala. We'd love to hear how it relates to her grandson's violent assault charges that were mysteriously dropped last year." His eyebrows shot up. "Your brother's son?" "The same. Funny how that never made the papers, isn't it?" Later that night, Marley found me sorting through old photos in our apartment. "What's all this?" I held up a picture from my wedding day. "Evidence. See how I'm wearing long sleeves in June? Hiding bruises? And my mother knew. Look at her face." I pointed to her tight smile. She helped me cover them with makeup that morning. Marley sat beside me. "Are you sure you want to do this? Once you expose them?" "They exposed themselves when they chose their reputation over their daughter's life." I pulled out another photo, a family Christmas party. "See this woman? She died last year. Accidental fall down the stairs after threatening to leave her husband. My father's law firm handled the investigation." My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of me entering the Grand Plaza, taken that morning. "They're watching you," Marley said quietly. "Good." I stood up, gathering the photos. "Let them watch. Let them worry about which of their precious secrets I'll expose first." Another text came through, this time from Vanessa. "Darling, the press list for the gala just grew. Every major network wants coverage." "Perfect timing," I murmured. "For what?" I showed her my phone screen, a video from my wedding day. In it, my mother adjusted my sleeve, revealing dark bruises, while saying clearly, "Just get through today, dear. These things happen in good families." "Violet," Marley breathed. That's my mother choosing our family's image over her daughter's safety, and in 3 weeks everyone will see it. They'll try to stop you. They already are." I gestured to the threatening letters, the legal notices, the surveillance photos. "But here's what they don't understand. I'm not that scared little girl anymore. And every attempt to silence me is just more proof of what we're fighting against." My phone buzzed again. Rachel this time. "Sarah's emergency hearing is tomorrow at 9. Dwayne's handling it personally." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Tell Sarah not to worry. Her daughter's staying right where she belongs, with her protective mother, not her abusive father's lawyers. And if they fight dirty, then they better pray I don't decide to fight dirtier." I've got 2 years of receipts, and I'm done being quiet. The courthouse steps were already crowded when I arrived for Sarah's hearing. Dwayne stood at the top, surrounded by junior associates, looking exactly as I remembered. Perfectly pressed suit, carefully styled hair, and that practiced smile that had fooled so many people. "Well, if it isn't my ex-wife," he called out, loud enough for nearby reporters to hear. "Still playing social justice warrior?" I kept walking, Sarah close behind me. "Still beating women, Dwayne?" His smile tightened. "Careful, Violet. Defamation is a serious charge." "So is perjury." I patted my briefcase. "Want to see what I found in those sealed records you thought were destroyed?" The color drained from his face as Rachel appeared beside us, carrying her own stack of files. "Your Honor," Dwayne started once we were inside, "we have serious concerns about the mother's stability, given her association with certain radical organizations." "Objection," Rachel stood. "Counsel is attempting to deflect from the real issue by attacking a legitimate nonprofit organization." "Sustained," the judge peered over her glasses. "Mr. Knight, stick to relevant facts." "Very well." Dwayne straightened his tie. "We have evidence that Ms. Sarah has been coaching her daughter to make false allegations." "Your Honor." I stood up, ignoring Rachel's warning look. "Permission to approach?" The judge nodded. I handed her a sealed envelope. "These are police reports from Mr. Knight's previous cases, including photographic evidence that was misplaced during filing. You'll notice the signature of the officer who helped bury them matches the signature on Sarah's daughter's recent interview." The judge's eyes narrowed as she reviewed the documents. "Mr. Knight, approach." Their whispered conversation ended with Dwayne's face turning an interesting shade of purple. 10 minutes later, Sarah had full custody, and Dwayne was being questioned by the State Bar Association. Outside, reporters swarmed us. "Ms. Bennett, is it true your organization targeted your ex-husband's firm?" No comment. Rachel tried to shuffle us through. "Actually," I turned to the cameras, "I do have a comment. To any woman watching who's being told to stay quiet, to any family choosing reputation over safety, we see you, and we're not staying silent anymore." Back at the office, Marley was arguing with Vanessa. "We can't seat them at the front," Marley insisted. "It's a security risk." "They're her parents," Vanessa countered. "It would look strange." "They're not my parents anymore," I interrupted. "They're just another example of the problem we're fighting." My phone rang, Mother's private number. After 2 years of silence, she was calling now. "Hello, Mother." "Violet." Her voice was tight. "This has gone far enough." "Has it? Because from where I'm standing, it's just beginning." "Your father is very upset about today's display." I laughed. "Today's display? You mean exposing how his firm helps abusers keep custody of their children? You're destroying everything we built." "No, Mother. I'm exposing everything you buried. There's a difference." "We're coming to your little event," she said coldly. "To show unity as a family. You will not embarrass us. Watch me." After hanging up, I found Marley and Vanessa staring at me. "They're planning something," Marley warned. "Of course they are." I pulled out the wedding video. "That's why we're planning something bigger." Vanessa studied me carefully. The video would destroy them. They destroyed themselves when they chose their reputation over their daughter's life. My phone buzzed with a text from David. "Your brother just posted bail. Assault charges dropped again. Want to comment?" "Perfect timing," I muttered, typing back. "Save it for the gala. I'll give you something better." That evening, I visited Sarah and her daughter at their new apartment. "Thank you." Sarah hugged me tight. "I never thought I'd be free." "You freed yourself," I corrected her. "We just helped with the logistics." Her daughter Emma tugged at my sleeve. "Are you really a princess?" "What?" "Daddy said you were, but you gave it all up to help people like Mommy." I knelt down to her level. "No, sweetie. I'm just someone who learned that being safe is more important than being rich." Later, walking home, I got another text, from my father this time. "Whatever you're planning, remember, every action has consequences." I took a screenshot and sent it to David with the caption, "Add this to the file. They're not even trying to hide the threats anymore." His response came quickly. "Front page is yours if you want it. Just say when." I looked up at the night sky, thinking of all the women still trapped in their golden cages, of all the families choosing silence over safety. Soon, I typed back. Very soon. They're pulling our permits, Marley slammed her laptop shut. The hotel claims there are security concerns about tomorrow's gala. I was already dialing Vanessa. She answered on the first ring. Handling it now, darling. They seem to have forgotten who sits on their board. 20 minutes later, she called back. Fixed. Though your father's fingerprints are all over this attempt. Of course they are. I checked my phone. Another anonymous threat, this time with photos of me entering my apartment. They're getting desperate. David burst into our office, waving a file. You need to see this. Your brother's victim? She's willing to talk. My heart stopped. Amanda? She saw the article about the gala, says she's tired of being scared. I remembered Amanda, 17, bruised and terrified when she came to us 6 months ago. My nephew had done a number on her, but my father's legal team had done worse. Get her somewhere safe, I ordered. They'll try to silence her before tomorrow. Already done, David smiled. She's with Rachel recording her statement. My phone buzzed. Mother again. Violet, we need to talk. Now. The Riverside Cafe, I said. 1 hour, bring your checkbook. You're buying. The cafe was nearly empty when I arrived. Mother sat primly at a corner table, looking exactly as I remembered. Perfectly coiffed, designer everything, face frozen in perpetual disappointment. You're late, she said as I sat down. You're desperate, I countered. What's wrong? Worried about what Amanda might say? Her teacup clinked against its saucer. That girl is troubled. Nobody will believe her. Like nobody would believe me? That was different. Was it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly the same. Another rich boy, another beaten girl, another cover-up. We protected you, she hissed. We gave you everything. You gave me bruises and silence. I pulled out my phone, showing her the wedding video. Want to explain this to the cameras tomorrow? Her face went white. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Your father will... What? Cut me off? Threaten me? Been there? Done that. I stood up. You know what's funny, Mother? I'm not afraid anymore. And that terrifies you. Back at the office, Marley was coordinating security for tomorrow. The guest list is insane. Every major news outlet, half the city's elite. And every survivor brave enough to stand with us, I added, checking the RSVPs. How many? 200 and counting. They're calling it the Golden Cage Uprising on social media. My phone lit up with a text from Rachel. Amanda's statement is recorded. It's devastating. Your father's firm is already trying to block its release. Too late, I muttered, forwarding it to David. The office door chimed. Vanessa swept in, looking worried. Darling, there's been a development. Your brother was just admitted to rehab. They're claiming temporary insanity for all his... incidents. Of course they are, I laughed bitterly. Can't have him coherent when Amanda speaks tomorrow. There's more. She handed me a tablet. They're announcing a $100 million domestic violence prevention initiative through your father's foundation. Trying to steal our thunder? Marley scoffed. No, I said slowly. They're trying to control the narrative. Make it look like they were always on the right side. My phone buzzed again. Dwayne this time. Last chance to back down. Think about what you're risking. I showed Marley the message. They still think I have something to lose. Don't you? No. I pulled out the stack of photos I'd been collecting. Evidence of years of abuse, cover-ups, and threats. But they do. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stood at my window, watching the city lights, when David called. The story's ready, he said. Front page, Sunday edition, The Golden Cage, How Society's Elite Hide Domestic Violence. Hold it, I said. Wait until after tomorrow night. Let them think they still have control. You sure about this? Once it starts? I'm sure. I touched my collarbone, where the last of Dwayne's bruises had finally faded. They had their chance to do the right thing. Now they get to face the consequences. A final text came through, from my father. Whatever you think you're going to accomplish tomorrow, remember who you're dealing with. I smiled, thinking of Amanda's testimony, the wedding video, the hundreds of survivors ready to speak out, and every piece of evidence we'd gathered over 2 years. "Oh, I remember exactly who I'm dealing with," I whispered to the empty room. "And tomorrow, so will everyone else." The Grand Plaza's ballroom glittered with chandeliers and camera flashes. I stood backstage, watching through a gap in the curtains as my parents worked the room, all perfect smiles and practiced charm. "Ready?" Marley appeared beside me, tablet in hand. "First video is queued up. How many cameras?" "Every major network, plus live streams. We're trending already." My father caught my eye across the room, raising his champagne glass in what looked like a toast but felt like a warning. Mother sat at their table, back rigid, smile frozen. "Ladies and gentlemen," Vanessa took the stage, resplendent in designer gold. "Welcome to Golden Cage Survivor's first annual gala." The applause felt electric. I smoothed my dress, not designer this time, but chosen carefully, long-sleeved, like my wedding dress, but with the sleeves rolled up, showing my bare arms. No more hiding. "And now," Vanessa continued, "please welcome our founder, Violet." The lights felt hot as I stepped onto the stage. 2 years ago, I stood in this very hotel, covering bruises with makeup while my family watched. Tonight, I'm done covering anything. The screens behind me flickered to life with the wedding video. Mother's voice rang clear. "These things happen in good families." The audience gasped. I saw my father half rise from his chair. "But that's not where this story ends," I continued, "because it's not just my story." Sarah stood up from her table, then another survivor, and another. Soon, hundreds were standing. "Each person standing represents a life your silence nearly cost," I said directly to my parents. "Each represents a truth you tried to bury." The screens changed to police reports, hospital records, buried evidence, all with familiar names, all with suspicious dismissals. "Your son's victim couldn't be here tonight," I said as Amanda's photo appeared on screen. "But she recorded this yesterday." Amanda's voice filled the room. "They offered me money to stay quiet, said nobody would believe me anyway. That's when I called Golden Cage Survivors." My father was on his phone now, probably calling lawyers. Mother sat perfectly still, face ashen. "And now," I gestured to the back doors, "please welcome our special guests." David led in a group of people I knew my parents recognized. Former maids, drivers, security staff, all the witnesses they'd paid off over the years. "Turns out," I smiled, "loyalty has a shelf life, especially when you treat people like disposable secrets." The first former maid stepped forward. "I saw what they did to her, what they covered up, not just for her, but for others." My father stood up. "This is slander." "No, father, this is truth. Something you forgot existed." The screens shifted again. Financial records, showing hush money payments, suspicious donations, all traced back to my father's firm. "Your $100 million domestic violence initiative?" I laughed. "Funded by decades of silencing victims. How fitting." Cameras swung between me and my parents as reporters scribbled frantically. "But here's what you never understood," I continued. "Every time you silenced someone, you created evidence. Every threat, every cover-up, every donation to make problems disappear. We documented it all." Mother finally spoke, her voice carrying in the stunned silence. "You're destroying this family." "No, Mother. You destroyed it the first time you chose reputation over your daughter's safety. I'm just making sure you can't do it to anyone else." The screens showed one final image. My brother's mugshot beside Amanda's hospital photos. "Your son enters rehab claiming temporary insanity," I addressed my father. "But these records show you knew. For years, you knew what he was doing, what you were hiding." Security moved toward my father as he started toward the stage, but he stopped short when David stood up, press badge gleaming. "Everything you're seeing tonight," I announced, "will be in tomorrow's paper. Every record, every testimony, every cover-up. The truth you tried so hard to bury is finally coming to light." Marley joined me on stage with Sarah and other survivors. Golden Cage Survivors isn't just a charity, it's a movement, and we're done being silent. The applause was deafening. Through tears, I watched my parents hurry toward the exit, followed by a swarm of reporters. "You did it," Marley whispered. "We did it," I corrected, looking at the hundreds of standing survivors. "All of us." My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Mother. "I hope you're happy with what you've done." I looked out at the room full of survivors, advocates, and truth-tellers, at David already writing tomorrow's headline, at Marley hugging Sarah, both crying and laughing. "Actually," I said to the empty air where my parents had been, "for the first time in my life, I am." The morning sun streamed through our new office windows, a whole floor now, not just a room above a coffee shop. I watched volunteers setting up for today's support group as my phone buzzed with news alerts. "Your father's firm just lost another major client," Marley announced, dropping a stack of papers on my desk. "That's 15 since the gala. And my brother? Plea deal. He's actually serving time thanks to Amanda's testimony." The elevator dinged. Sarah walked in, leading a nervous-looking woman in expensive clothes and oversized sunglasses. "This is Patricia," Sarah said softly. She saw the news coverage. I recognized her immediately, the governor's daughter-in-law, the bruises under her. "Welcome to Golden Cage survivors," I said, gesturing to a chair. "You're safe here."
"My family says I'm overreacting," she whispered, "that I need to think about the upcoming. Family said the same thing. I rolled up my sleeve, showing old scars. Know what I learned? Family isn't about protecting. It's about protecting.
The door opened again, David carrying today's paper. The headline read, "Golden Cage Effect, Domestic Violence Reports Triple Among Elite Families." "Your mother's women's charity board just voted her out," he said, grinning. "Apparently, they don't appreciate being associated with abuse enablers." "How tragic," I deadpanned. "I'm sure she'll survive the shame." Patricia removed her sunglasses, revealing a darkening eye. "Will you help me file charges?" "Better." Marley pulled out her phone. "We'll help you tell your story, on your terms." The afternoon support group filled our largest conference room. Women from every social circle sat together, sharing stories they'd kept hidden for years. "I never thought I'd speak about this," one woman said, "but seeing you all at the gala, standing up, it gave me courage." Rachel burst in, legal files in hand. "The State Bar Association just announced an investigation into law firms specializing in domestic dispute suppression. Your father's firm is first on the list." My phone lit up, Mother's number. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. Instead, I answered on speaker. "What do you want, Mother?" "I've been thinking." Her voice sounded different, older maybe. "About what you said at the gala, about choosing reputation over safety. And I was wrong." The words came out rushed. "I've been wrong for a very long time." I shared a look with Marley. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I found your old diaries, the ones where you wrote about everything. I've been reading them, and She took a shaky breath. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I'd like to make a statement about what I saw, what I helped hide." The room had gone silent, everyone listening. "You understand this would implicate you? Father? The whole family?" "Yes." Another deep breath. "It's time I chose the right side." After hanging up, Patricia spoke first. "Is it always this hard? Standing up to family?" "Yes," I said honestly. "But we're your family now, too. All of us." The day continued. More survivors, more stories, more healing. As evening fell, Marley found me sorting through letters from women who'd reached out since the gala. "You okay?" she asked. "Better than okay." I held up a letter. "This one's from a teenager whose mother left after seeing our story. They're safe now." "That's what success looks like," she smiled. "One family at a time." My phone buzzed. A text from Dwayne. "Your little crusade cost me my partnership." I showed Marley, laughing. "Karma's finally catching up." Speaking of karma, David appeared in the doorway. Tomorrow's headline, "Society's Silent Epidemic. Former socialite mother exposes decades of cover-ups." Mother actually did it? He handed me the advance copy. Every detail, every name, every cover-up she witnessed. I looked around our office, at Patricia working with Rachel on her statement, at Sarah helping new arrivals, at the wall of photos showing survivors rebuilding their lives. You know what's funny? I said to Marley. They always said I'd destroy the family name, but really, I just gave it meaning. The sun set over the city as we worked late into the evening. More women arrived, each carrying their own golden cage stories, each finding strength in breaking their silence. Ready to head home? Marley asked eventually. I looked at Patricia, now sitting with other survivors, her posture already stronger. At Mother's statement, ready to shatter more carefully maintained facades. At the growing community of warriors who'd refused to stay silent. Actually, I smiled, I am home.
The day my father betrayed me started like any other family gathering, with fake smiles and hollow pleasantries. I stood in our family's grand living room, watching my stepmother Meredith arrange fresh-cut roses in an antique vase, while my father paced near his mahogany desk, checking his watch every few minutes. My name is Jessica, and I'd spent the last 3 years working alongside my father at his company, learning every aspect of the business he'd promised would one day be mine. That promise died today. "Everyone, please sit down," my father announced, his voice carrying that authoritative tone I'd grown up respecting. "I have an important announcement to make." Quentin, my stepbrother, sprawled across the leather armchair with a smug expression that made my stomach turn. At 22, he'd never worked a day in his life, preferring to spend his time partying and posting about his entrepreneurial mindset on Instagram. "As you know," my father continued, "I've been considering the future of our family business." He smiled at Meredith, who beamed back at him. "After careful consideration, I've decided to transfer majority ownership and control to Quentin." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the armrest of the sofa, my knuckles turning white. "What?" The word came out as a whisper. "It makes perfect sense," Meredith chimed in, placing her hand on Quentin's shoulder. "A fresh perspective is exactly what the company needs." "Dad," I managed to say, fighting to keep my voice steady. "We talked about this. I've been working there for 3 years. I have an MBA. I know every client, every supplier." "Jessica, please." My father cut me off, raising his hand. "This decision wasn't made lightly. Quentin has some innovative ideas that align better with our future vision." Quentin leaned forward, his designer watch glinting in the afternoon light. "Don't worry, sis. I'll make sure to keep you on in some capacity. Maybe in HR?" I stood up abruptly, my legs shaking. "Some capacity? Dad, you promised me. You said when I finished my MBA." "Things change, Jessica," Meredith interrupted. "We have to think about what's best for the family." "The family?" I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "I am your family. I'm your daughter." My father wouldn't meet my eyes. "You'll still receive your salary, of course, but Quentin will be taking over as CEO next month." "Next month?" The room started spinning. "You've already decided everything?" "The paperwork is being finalized," my father said, finally looking at me. "I'm sorry if this disappoints you, but it's what's best for everyone." I grabbed my purse, nearly knocking over a side table in my haste. "Congratulations, Quentin," I managed to say, proud that my voice didn't crack. "I hope you enjoy running the company I spent 3 years helping to build." "Jessica, don't be dramatic," Meredith called after me as I headed for the door. "This is exactly why we needed someone more level-headed in charge." I paused at the doorway, turning back one last time. "Dad?" He still wouldn't look at me. "We can discuss this later, Jessica." "No," I said quietly. "We won't." I walked out of that house with my head held high, waited until I reached my car, and then let the tears fall. My phone buzzed. A message from my best friend Lucy. "How did it go?" I started the engine, my vision blurring. "They gave everything to Quentin," I typed back. "Everything I worked for. Everything Dad promised me." Lucy's response was immediate. "I'm coming over. Don't do anything stupid before I get there." As I drove away from my childhood home, I caught a glimpse of my father watching from the window. For a moment, our eyes met, and I saw something flicker across his face. Regret, maybe? But then Meredith appeared beside him, and he turned away. 3 years of my life. 3 years of early mornings, late nights, missed vacations, and canceled dates. 3 years of learning every aspect of the business, of earning the respect of our employees and clients. All of it handed to Quentin on a silver platter because his mother had wormed her way into my father's life and convinced him that her precious son deserved my inheritance. My phone buzzed again. "Lucy, we'll figure this out. You're not alone." I took a deep breath, wiping away the last of my tears. Lucy was right. This wasn't over. I might have lost my inheritance, but I hadn't lost my knowledge, my experience, or my determination. They wanted to push me aside? Fine. But they were about to learn that I was my father's daughter in more ways than one. And I didn't give up without a fight. 3 days after my world imploded, I sat in Virgil's law office, surrounded by towering bookshelves and the smell of old leather. The family lawyer had known me since I was in pigtails, and his familiar, weathered face showed genuine concern as I recounted what had happened. "I just don't understand," I said, twisting a tissue in my hands. "How could he legally do this? I thought the company was meant to be split between any children." Virgil removed his reading glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Your father restructured the company ownership last year. As majority shareholder, he had the right to transfer his shares to whoever he chose." Last year? The betrayal cut deeper. So he'd been planning this? "Jessica." Virgil hesitated, then stood up and walked to a large filing cabinet. "There's something else you should know. Something about your grandmother's will. My grandmother had passed away 5 years ago, leaving everything to my father. Or so I'd thought." Virgil returned with a thick folder, placing it on his desk with careful precision. "Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, and she was, let's say, prescient about certain possibilities." He pulled out a document and handed it to me. "There's a clause here that your father doesn't know about. Your grandmother set up a trust fund in your name, with very specific conditions." My hands shook as I read the paper. $2 million? I whispered. "But why didn't I know about this?" "The clause stipulated that you could only access the money if you started your own successful business by the age of 30. Your grandmother believed in entrepreneurship, not just inheritance. She wanted her legacy to inspire creation, not dependence." I sat back, stunned. "Does my father know about this?" Virgil shook his head. "No. Your grandmother was very clear. This information was to be revealed only to you, and only if you were ever disinherited from the family business." "She knew," I breathed. "Somehow she knew something like this might happen." "Your grandmother watched your father marry Meredith," Virgil said quietly. "She had concerns." My phone buzzed. Another message from Lucy asking how the meeting was going. I ignored it, focusing on the document in my hands. "What qualifies as a successful business?" I asked. "According to the terms, you need to show a profitable quarter within your first year of operation. The business must be entirely yours. No family involvement." I let out a shaky laugh. "No risk of that anymore?" "There's more," Virgil said, pulling out another document. "Your grandmother left detailed records of various business contacts, potential opportunities, even market research she'd conducted. She wanted to give you tools, not just money." "Why didn't she just tell me all this before she died?" "She believed you needed to find your own path first." Her words were, "Jessica needs to understand what it means to lose everything before she can truly build something of her own." I stood up and walked to the window, watching traffic flow below. $2 million, I repeated. "That's enough to start something real." "It is," Virgil agreed. "But Jessica, this won't be easy. Starting a business never is, trust fund or not." I turned back to him, feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. "Nothing worth doing ever is, right?" "There's one more thing," Virgil said, his expression serious. "If you accept this challenge, you can't tell anyone about the trust fund. Not your father, not Meredith, not even Lucy. The money must appear to come from your own savings and investors. Your grandmother was adamant about this. Why? She wanted your success to be yours alone. No one could claim they helped you or that you had an unfair advantage. I nodded slowly, a plan already forming in my mind. Can I take these documents to review? Of course. Virgil gathered them into a folder. Jessica, your grandmother believed in you. She saw something in you that reminded her of herself. As I stood to leave, Virgil called after me. One last thing. Meredith called yesterday, asking if you'd been here. She seemed concerned about any potential legal action. I smiled, thinking of my stepmother's worried face. Let her worry. I've got better things to focus on now. Walking out of the office building, I finally replied to Lucy's messages. Meet me for coffee. I've got an idea. My grandmother had given me more than money. She'd given me a chance to prove myself, to build something of my own. And unlike the inheritance my father had promised, this was something no one could take away from me. I looked up at the sky, silently thanking my grandmother for her foresight. She'd known I might need an escape route, and she'd provided one, but only if I was willing to work for it. Challenge accepted, Grandma. An eco-friendly business? Lucy stirred her latte, raising an eyebrow. That's quite a pivot from corporate finance. We sat in our favorite coffee shop, laptops open, surrounded by the buzz of afternoon customers. I'd spent the last hour outlining my ideas, careful to avoid mentioning the trust fund. Think about it, I said, turning my laptop to show her my research. The market for sustainable products is exploding. People want to feel good about their purchases, but they don't want to sacrifice quality or convenience. Lucy leaned forward, scanning the screen. And you're thinking, what exactly? Salt, biodegradable packaging solutions for businesses. Everything from takeout containers to shipping materials. I pulled up another tab. Did you know most companies want to go green, but can't find reliable suppliers? The few that exist charge astronomical prices. And you think you can do better? I know I can. I opened my spreadsheet. I've already found 3 potential manufacturers who can produce at scale. If we can streamline the supply chain and build direct relationships with businesses, we could revolutionize the industry. Lucy's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. Heads up, Quentin's been asking around about you. Apparently, Meredith's worried you're planning some kind of legal action. Let them worry, I said, thinking of the folder from Virgil sitting safely in my apartment. I've got bigger plans. Speaking of plans, Lucy said, lowering her voice, how are you going to fund this? Starting a business isn't cheap, and you just lost your job. I'd prepared for this question. I've got savings, and I'm planning to approach investors. My experience at Dad's company gives me credibility. Jess, Lucy hesitated. Are you sure you're not just doing this to prove something to your father? I'm doing this for me, I replied firmly. Dad made his choice. Now I'm making mine. The coffee shop door chimed, and I froze as Quentin walked in, wearing his usual designer outfit that screamed, "Trust fund, baby." He spotted us and sauntered over, pulling up a chair without asking. Well, well, he smirked. Planning your next career move? I heard HR is hiring. I closed my laptop slowly. Actually, I'm starting my own company. His laugh was sharp. You? A company? With what money? That's none of your business, Lucy cut in, her tone icy. Look, sis. Quentin leaned forward, his voice dripping with fake concern. Why don't you come back to the company? I could use someone with your administrative skills. I appreciate the offer, I said, keeping my voice steady. But I'll pass. Some of us prefer to build something of our own, rather than having it handed to us. His smile faltered. Dad's worried about you, you know. He thinks you're not thinking clearly. Dad lost the right to worry about me when he gave you everything he promised me. I started packing up my things. Tell him I'm fine, better than fine, actually. Whatever you're planning, Quentin called as we stood to leave, it won't work. You're not cut out for this. I turned back, meeting his gaze. Watch me. Outside, Lucy linked her arm through mine. You know what? I'm in. Whatever you need, market research, networking, anything. Let's show them what you can do. I hugged her, grateful for her support. First step, we need to find office space. Something professional, but not too expensive. Already on it. Lucy pulled out her phone. There's a new co-working space downtown. Very eco-friendly. They might even become your first client. As we walked, I spotted my reflection in a store window. I looked different somehow. Stronger, more determined. My grandmother had built her own empire from nothing. Now it was my turn. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. Quentin says you're starting a business. Let's talk about this. Come to dinner tomorrow? I showed Lucy the message. She snorted. He's probably worried you'll become competition. Not yet, I replied, typing out a response. Can't make dinner. Too busy building my future. I hit send and turned off my phone. You know, Lucy said as we reached her car, your grandmother would be proud of you. If only she knew how right she was. I smiled, thinking of the trust fund waiting to be activated. But first, I had to prove I could do this on my own terms. Come on, I said, getting into the passenger seat. Let's go look at that office space. I've got some ideas for the pitch deck we need to create. As we drove away, I caught sight of Quentin watching us from the coffee shop window. Let him watch. Let them all watch. They thought they'd knocked me down, but they'd actually set me free. And I was going to soar. Your samples look impressive. Sarah, the restaurant chain executive, turned the biodegradable container in her hands. But how can you guarantee consistent supply? We've been burned before by startups that couldn't deliver. I sat in her sleek downtown office, 3 months into building my company, GreenShift Solutions. The meeting was my biggest pitch yet, a potential contract that could make or break us. We've already secured partnerships with 3 manufacturing facilities, I replied, pulling up the supply chain presentation on my tablet. I can show you our production capacity projections. I've seen the numbers, Sarah interrupted. What I need to know is why I should trust you over established suppliers. I leaned forward. Because unlike them, we're not just selling products. We're offering a complete packaging transition solution, including staff training and waste management consultation. Plus, our prices are 20% lower. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. 20%? How? Streamlined operations and direct manufacturer relationships. No middlemen. I didn't mention the trust fund that had helped secure those relationships. We can start with a trial run if you prefer. Before Sarah could respond, my phone buzzed. Quentin's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. Family business? Sarah asked, noticing my expression. Former family business, I corrected. I'm building something new now. She nodded slowly, then reached for the contract. Let's start with a 3-month trial. 2 locations. If it works out, we'll discuss expanding to all 30 restaurants. My heart soared, but I kept my expression professional as we shook hands. Outside her office, I finally let myself smile. Our first major client. My phone buzzed again. Quentin had left a voicemail. Against my better judgment, I played it. Hey sis, heard you're making waves in the eco-friendly space. Let's grab coffee. I have a proposition that could benefit us both. I deleted the message and called Lucy instead. We got it, I announced when she picked up. The restaurant chain contract. I knew you would, Lucy cheered. This calls for celebration. Drinks tonight? Can't. Meeting with potential investors tomorrow morning. Rain check? You're working too hard, Lucy sighed. But I get it. Just don't forget to... She was cut off by another incoming call. My father this time. I ignored it. Still not talking to them? Lucy asked. Nothing to say. I reached my car, juggling my phone and briefcase. They made their choice. I'm making mine. Back at our small office in the co-working space, I found Quentin waiting by my desk. He wore his usual smirk, but something about his expression seemed forced. Nice setup. He gestured around the modern space. Very modest. What do you want, Quentin? Can't a brother check on his sister? He perched on my desk. Actually, I have a business proposal. Dad's company is looking to go green. Good PR, you know. We could use your services. I stared at him. You want me to supply packaging to the company you stole from me? Come on, Jess. It's just business. Think about it. Guaranteed contracts, stable income. Dad feels bad about how things turned out. This could be a way to keep you in the family business. I have my own family business now, I replied, setting down my briefcase. And we're doing just fine without your help. Are you? He picked up a prototype container. These startup costs must be killing you. Where'd you get the capital anyway? That's none of your concern. I took the container from his hands. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Dad's not going to like this, Quentin called as I walked him to the door. He thinks you're being stubborn. Dad lost the right to an opinion about my choices. I held the door open pointedly. Send my regards to Meredith. After he left, I sank into my chair, hands shaking slightly. They were getting nervous. Good. The restaurant chain contract would be announced next week, and then everyone would know Green Shift Solutions was a serious player. My phone lit up with a text from Sarah. Contract signed and sent to your lawyer. Looking forward to working together. I smiled, thinking of my grandmother. She'd built her empire from nothing, facing much bigger obstacles than I was. The trust fund helped, but the vision, the work, the determination, that was all me. Opening my laptop, I began preparing for tomorrow's investor meeting. Let Quentin run my father's company into the ground. I was building something better, something sustainable, in every sense of the word. The future was green, and I was going to lead the way. Not as my father's daughter or Quentin's stepsister, but as my own person, as my grandmother's granddaughter. The sustainability conference hall buzzed with energy as I finished setting up our Green Shift Solutions booth. 6 months of hard work had led to this moment, our official launch into the broader market. Press badges mingled with corporate name tags in the growing crowd. Hi, everything looks perfect. Lucy adjusted our banner. The prototypes are getting a lot of attention already. A reporter from the Business Weekly approached, notebook in hand. Ms. Jessica, I'd love to get your thoughts on disrupting the sustainable packaging industry. Before I could respond, a familiar voice cut through the crowd. Disrupting? That's a bit ambitious, isn't it? Quentin stood there, wearing a suit that probably cost more than our booth rental. Behind him, my father and Meredith lingered, watching the scene unfold. What are you doing here? I asked, keeping my voice level. Industry event, sis. Open to all players. Quentin picked up one of our display containers. Though calling these revolutionary seems like a stretch, we're launching our own eco-friendly line next quarter, actually. The reporter's pen moved quickly across her notepad. Mr. Quentin, you're saying your company is entering the sustainable packaging market as well? Indeed, he smiled. With our resources and established client base, we'll be able to offer much more competitive pricing than smaller operations. Lucy stepped forward, but I touched her arm. Actually, I said to the reporter, I'd love to discuss our recent contract with national restaurant chain. They chose us specifically for our innovative approach and cost-effective solutions. The reporter's eyes widened. National restaurant chain? That's a significant account for a new company. We've also secured partnerships with 3 major retail chains. I continued, watching Quentin's smirk fade. Would you like to see our impact projections? Jessica, my father stepped forward, his voice low. Can we talk privately? Sorry, Dad. I'm busy with potential clients. I turned back to the reporter. Shall we discuss those projections? As I walked away with the reporter, I heard Meredith whisper, How did she land those contracts so quickly? The next hour flew by in a whirlwind of interviews and demonstrations. Our booth drew consistent crowds, especially after the Business Weekly tweeted about our national restaurant chain partnership. This is going better than we hoped, Lucy beamed, handling another inquiry. We've got 5 potential clients wanting meetings next week. I spotted Quentin arguing with my father near the entrance, gesturing angrily in my direction. Moments later, he stormed over to our booth. Real cute, he spat. You just had to steal the spotlight, didn't you? Steal? I laughed. Like you stole my inheritance? That company was handed to me fair and square. Exactly. I met his gaze. Nothing in your life was earned, Quentin. That's the difference between us. You think you're so clever. He lowered his voice. But where did you get the startup money, huh? Dad's been asking questions. Something doesn't add up. Sounds like a you problem. I turned to greet another potential client, but Quentin grabbed my arm. Listen, you little... Is there a problem here? A tall man in an expensive suit interrupted. I'm Thomas from Eco Retail Group. We're very interested in your products, Jessica. But if this isn't a good time... Quentin released my arm, forcing a smile. No problem at all. Just a family discussion. Former family, I corrected, extending my hand to Thomas. Shall we discuss your packaging needs? As I led Thomas to our meeting area, I caught sight of my father watching from across the hall. For a moment, our eyes met. He looked older somehow, worried. Meredith whispered something in his ear, and they turned to leave. Impressive operation you've built, Thomas commented, reviewing our catalog. Your grandmother would be proud. I froze. You knew my grandmother? He smiled. Margaret was a force of nature. We served on several boards together. She always said her granddaughter would shake things up someday. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I blinked them away. I hope I'm living up to her expectations. From what I've seen today, you're exceeding them. He pulled out a business card. Let's set up a proper meeting. Eco Retail Group has over 200 stores that need sustainable packaging solutions. By the end of the day, we'd collected more business cards than I could count. Lucy hugged me as we packed up the booth. You showed them, she said. You showed everyone. I watched Quentin leave with his tail between his legs, no doubt heading back to report our success to my father. Let them worry. Let them wonder. My phone buzzed with a text from Virgil. Your grandmother's trust fund is officially activated. First profitable quarter confirmed. Congratulations. I smiled, tucking the phone away. The money had helped, but today's success? That was all mine. And this was just the beginning. Green Shift Solutions announces third consecutive quarter of growth. Lucy read from her tablet, feet propped on my new office desk. Eco-friendly packaging startup disrupts industry with innovative solutions. I gazed out the floor-to-ceiling windows of our downtown headquarters, still amazed at how far we'd come in 18 months. Read the part about the expansion again. Under CEO Jessica's leadership, the company has secured contracts with major retailers and restaurants nationwide, with plans to expand internationally by next quarter. The door burst open, and Maria, our office manager, rushed in. Jessica, you need to see this. She handed me her phone, displaying a breaking news article. Joseph Industries stock plummets amid environmental violations and mismanagement concerns. Your father's company? Lucy leaned over my shoulder to read. Oh, wow, this is bad. The article detailed how my father's company had been caught disposing of toxic materials illegally, trying to cut costs after several quarters of declining profits. Quentin's leadership was specifically mentioned as a factor in the company's downturn. My phone started ringing. Meredith's number. I declined the call. They're saying the fines could be in the millions, Maria added, plus the cleanup costs. Another call, my father this time. I sent it to voicemail. Lucy sat up straight. You don't think they'll try to come to me for help? I finished. They already are. I showed them my phone screen, displaying a text from Quentin. Need to talk. Family emergency, please. What are you going to do? Lucy asked quietly. Before I could answer, Maria's phone buzzed. They're in the lobby, she said. Your father and Quentin. Should I send them away? I thought about all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep after they took my inheritance, about Quentin's smug face at every industry event, about my father's silence when I needed him most. No, I decided. Send them up. 5 minutes later, they stood in my office, looking distinctly uncomfortable. My father had aged years and months, and Quentin's designer suit couldn't hide his desperation. Nice office, my father said, looking around. You've done well for yourself. What do you want? Quentin stepped forward. We need your help. The environmental violations. They happened under the old system before we took over, but you covered them up instead of fixing them, I finished. I saw the report. The fines will bankrupt us, my father said quietly. We need a partner with experience in sustainable practices, someone who can help us transition and rebuild trust. And you thought of me? I laughed. How convenient. Look, Quentin's voice cracked. I know we were wrong about everything. You clearly know what you're doing. We're offering you a chance to come back, to be part of the family business again. Part of the family business? I stood up. You mean the business you stole from me? The one you've run into the ground? Jessica, please. My father stepped forward. We're family. Family? I walked around my desk. Where was family when you gave everything to Quentin? Where was family when he tried to sabotage my company? Where was family when Meredith spread rumors about my funding sources? They both had the grace to look ashamed. I built this company from nothing, I continued. No family connections, no inherited clients, just hard work and vision. Something neither of you would understand. We can offer you majority shares, Quentin said desperately. Whatever you want. I don't want your failing company, I replied. I have my own. My father sank into a chair. Without help, we'll lose everything. Like I lost everything? I pressed a button on my desk. Maria, please show them out. Jessica. My father stood, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I'm sorry for everything. I made a terrible mistake. For a moment, I felt my resolve waver. Then I remembered my grandmother's words in her will. Jessica needs to understand what it means to lose everything before she can truly build something of her own. I'm sorry too, Dad, I said softly. But you made your choice. Now you have to live with it. After they left, Lucy hugged me. Are you okay? I looked around my office, at the awards on the walls, the growing team beyond my door, the skyline view I'd earned through my own efforts. You know what? I smiled. I really am. My phone buzzed with another text from Quentin. Please reconsider. We need you. I deleted it without responding. They'd needed me before, when I was working 80-hour weeks learning the business. They'd needed me when I brought in new clients and modernized systems. They just hadn't valued me. Now they could watch as their company crumbled while mine soared. Sometimes karma worked in perfect ways. The news of Joseph Industries' bankruptcy splashed across every business publication. I sat in my office, scrolling through the headlines. Family company collapses. Environmental violations lead to corporate downfall. CEO Quentin steps down amid crisis. A knock on my door interrupted my reading. Maria poked her head in. Your father's here again. Third time this week. I sighed, closing my laptop. Send him in. He entered slowly, looking nothing like the powerful businessman I'd grown up admiring. His suit hung loose on his frame, his hair now more gray than black. The house is being sold, he said without preamble, sinking into the chair across from me. Meredith's filing for divorce. I heard. I kept my voice neutral. Where's Quentin? Dubai, supposedly, trying to secure investors. He laughed bitterly. No one will touch us now. I poured 2 cups of coffee, sliding one across to him. Why are you here, Dad? I had a lot of time to think lately, he said, staring into the cup. About choices, about legacy. Your grandmother would be so disappointed in me. Probably, I agreed. She believed in earning success, not handing it over. Like you did. He gestured at my office. 2 years ago, I thought I was protecting the company by giving it to Quentin. I convinced myself he had the right qualities, that you were too emotional. And now? Now I watch you in the news, leading the industry, changing how business is done. He looked up, eyes glistening. You did everything I always wanted for the company, just without me. I had help, I said, thinking of my grandmother's trust fund. Just not from you. The trust fund? He nodded. Virgil finally told me about it last week. Mother always was 3 steps ahead of everyone. I froze. You know about that? She set it up right after I married Meredith. He smiled sadly. She saw what I couldn't, or wouldn't. That I was letting my new wife influence my judgment, letting her push you out. It wasn't just Meredith, I said quietly. You made your choices, Dad. I did. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. That's why I'm here. These are my remaining shares in Joseph Industries. They're not worth much now, but... He slid the envelope across my desk. They should go to you. They always should have been yours. I stared at the envelope. I don't want them. I know. He stood up. But I need you to have them, not to save the company. It's too late for that. But because they belong to you. Because I was wrong. Dad, you know what the worst part is? He moved to the window, looking out at the city. Watching you succeed without me. Knowing I could have been part of something extraordinary if I just believed in my own daughter. I joined him at the window. I would have made you proud. You did make me proud, Jessica. Just not the way I expected. He turned to face me. You built something better than I ever could. You did it your way, the right way. Yo, is that why Meredith's leaving? Because you lost everything? He shook his head. She's leaving because Quentin emptied their accounts before he fled. Like mother, like son, I suppose. Despite everything, I felt a twinge of sympathy. What will you do now? Start over, get a small apartment, maybe consult, if anyone will hire me. He straightened his tie. I'm not here to ask for help, Jessica. I just needed you to know that I understand now. And I'm sorry. As he turned to leave, I called out, Dad? He paused at the door. There's a coffee shop around the corner. They make decent breakfast sandwiches. If you wanted to, maybe next week. A small smile crossed his face. I'd like that. After he left, I opened the envelope, looking at the worthless shares of my father's fallen company. Then I glanced at my own company's latest financial reports. Another record quarter. Lucy burst in. Did I just see your dad leaving? Are you okay? I'm fine, I said, and meant it. Actually, I'm better than fine. What did he want? I tucked the envelope into my desk drawer. To admit he was wrong, to say he's proud of me. And are you going to help him? I thought about my grandmother, about legacy, about earning success. No, I said finally, but I might have breakfast with him next week. Lucy smiled. Your grandmother would approve of that. Looking out at my growing empire, I knew she was right. Sometimes karma wasn't about revenge. It was about finding your own path, even when others tried to block it. And sometimes, just sometimes, it was about being strong enough to listen when those who wronged you finally admitted their mistakes. The autumn breeze rustled through the cemetery as I placed fresh flowers on my grandmother's grave. The marble headstone gleamed in the morning sun, her name etched in elegant script. I brought someone to see you, Grandma, I said softly, stepping aside as my father approached. He placed his own bouquet beside mine, his hands trembling slightly. We'd been meeting for breakfast every Wednesday for the past month, slowly rebuilding what we'd lost. Today, he'd asked to come here with me. Hello, Mother, he said, voice thick with emotion. I should have visited sooner. My phone buzzed. Another news alert about Quentin. He'd been arrested in Dubai, trying to use fake documents to access frozen accounts. Meredith had already fled to Europe with whatever she'd managed to salvage from the wreckage of their lives. Did you see the news? Dad asked. I nodded. Karma has a way of catching up. That it does. He straightened up, adjusting his now-worn tie. I have something to tell you. I got a job offer yesterday. Small consulting firm, helping companies transition to sustainable practices. Dad, that's wonderful. They found me through you, actually. Said if I taught you everything you know about business, I must be worth hiring. He smiled wryly. I told them you taught me more than I ever taught you. A familiar voice called from behind us. Jessica, I thought I might find you here. We turned to see Virgil approaching, carrying a folder. Your grandmother left instructions to give you this after certain conditions were met, he said, handing me the folder. You've exceeded all of them. Inside was a letter, written in my grandmother's distinctive handwriting. My dearest Jessica, if you're reading this, you've done more than simply claim your inheritance. You've earned it. You've built something meaningful, something sustainable. But more importantly, you've learned the lesson I hoped you would. That true success comes not from what we're given, but from what we create. I'm sorry I had to be secretive about the trust fund, but I needed you to find your own strength. Your father had to learn his lesson too, though I suspect his will be harder. Remember, legacy isn't about money or power, it's about impact. Make yours count. All my love, Grandma. Tears blurred my vision as I passed the letter to my father. He read it silently, then folded it carefully. She knew, he said quietly. She knew I would fail you, and she prepared for it. She knew you could learn from it, I corrected. Just like she knew I needed to lose everything to build something better. Virgil cleared his throat. There's more. Your grandmother left instructions for a charitable foundation to be established once you proved yourself. The paperwork is ready. She wanted you to lead it. I stared at him. A foundation? To help young entrepreneurs, especially women, start sustainable businesses. He smiled. She believed in paying it forward. My father touched the headstone gently. That sounds exactly like her. Looking between my grandmother's grave and the folder in my hands, I felt everything come full circle. She hadn't just given me an escape route, she'd given me a mission. Dad, I said suddenly, would you like to help? With the foundation? Your experience could be valuable. He looked startled, then deeply moved. You'd trust me with that? Trust is earned, I replied. Just like success. But everyone deserves a chance to rebuild. Virgil handed me a pen. Shall we make it official? As I signed the foundation documents on my grandmother's grave, I felt a profound sense of peace. My father stood beside me, not as the man who had betrayed me, but as someone learning to be better. Somewhere in Europe, Meredith and Quentin were facing the consequences of their actions. And here I was, building something new again, not out of revenge or spite, but out of hope. What would you name it? My father asked. I looked at my grandmother's name on the headstone, remembering her strength, her foresight, her belief in earning one's way. The Legacy Foundation, I decided, because true legacy isn't what we inherit, it's what we build. The autumn wind picked up, scattering leaves around us. In that moment, I could almost feel my grandmother's approval. She'd known all along that losing my inheritance would lead me to something greater. Not just success, but understanding. Not just wealth, but wisdom. And as I stood there between my father and my grandmother's grave, holding the future of a new foundation in my hands, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, building better, and helping others do the same. That was the real inheritance my grandmother had left me, and I intended to make it count.
The smell of barbecue filled our backyard as I watched my brother-in-law Trey charm everyone with his $1,000,000 smile. That smile used to make me feel safe, like everything would always work out. Now it just makes my stomach turn. I'm Summer, and this is the story of how family betrayal taught me the true meaning of karma. Summer, these burgers are amazing, Trey called out, raising his beer. Luke really scored marrying a woman who can cook like this. He winked at my husband, who beamed with pride. I forced a smile, trying to ignore the knot in my stomach. Something felt off about Trey today. The way his eyes kept darting around, how his laugh seemed a little too loud. Mom, can I have another hot dog? My daughter Caitlin tugged at my shirt, her ponytail bouncing with excitement. Sure, sweetie. I ruffled her hair, watching her skip away. The sight of her made my heart ache. Just yesterday, I'd been reviewing her college fund statement, dreaming about her future. Summer, can I talk to you for a minute? Trey's voice was lower now, serious. He gestured toward the kitchen. In private? Inside, Trey leaned against our granite countertop, suddenly looking less like the successful businessman everyone thought he was. "I need your help, Summer. Just temporary. 3 months max." "What kind of help?" I asked, though I already knew where this was heading. "I've got this amazing investment opportunity, but I'm a little short on capital." He ran his hands through his perfectly styled hair. "I was wondering if I could borrow from the kids' college fund. I'll double it when I pay it back." My throat tightened. "Trey, that's their future we're talking about." "Come on, Summer. When have I ever let the family down?" He spread his arms wide. "You know me. I'm good for it." Before I could respond, my mother-in-law Zariah bustled in. "There you two are. What are you plotting in here?" "Just discussing a business opportunity," Trey said smoothly. "Summer's being cautious about investing." Zariah touched my arm. "Oh, honey, you can trust Trey. He's got the golden touch with money. Remember how he helped Luke start his business?" I felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on me. Through the window, I could see Luke playing with Caitlin, both laughing as they tossed a frisbee. "How much?" I heard myself ask. Trey's eyes lit up. "Just 50,000. I'll have it back before you know it." My hands trembled as I signed the transfer papers later that afternoon. Trey had all the documents ready, which should have been my first red flag. As the sun set and our guests started leaving, I headed to the kitchen to clean up. That's when I heard it, Trey's voice from around the corner of the house, talking on his phone. "Yeah, man, it was easier than I thought. These people trust me with everything." His laugh was different now, cold, dismissive. "Family's such a sucker bet." I froze, the plate in my hand nearly slipping to the ground. Through the kitchen window, I could see his reflection in the gathering darkness, pacing and grinning. "Don't worry about it. They won't even notice the money's gone until it's too late. And by then," he chuckled again, "well, what are they gonna do? I'm family." The plate finally slipped from my numb fingers, shattering on the floor. The sound must have startled him because he quickly ended his call. "Everything okay in there?" he called out, his voice back to its usual warm tone. "Just dropped a plate," I answered, my own voice surprisingly steady despite the rage building inside me. As I swept up the broken pieces, I could hear him saying goodbye to Luke and Zariah outside. Each shard of ceramic I picked up felt like a piece of my trust falling apart. "Need help cleaning up?" Luke appeared in the doorway, still smiling from the day's events. I looked at my husband, so trusting, so proud of his big brother, and made a decision. "No," I said quietly. "I've got this." What I didn't tell him was that I wasn't just talking about the broken plate. I was going to fix this mess, but not in the way anyone expected. Trey had just made the biggest mistake of his life, and he didn't even know it yet. As I heard his car pull away from our house, I gripped the counter edge until my knuckles turned white. He thought family was a sucker bet? Well, he was about to learn that betting against a mother protecting her children's future was the biggest gamble of all. The bank statement stared back at me from my laptop screen, the numbers blurring as I scrolled through transaction after transaction. 3 weeks had passed since the barbecue, and something wasn't adding up. "Hey, what are you doing up so late?" Luke's voice startled me. I quickly minimized the window. "Just checking some numbers," I said, forcing a casual tone. "How was dinner with Trey?" Luke dropped onto the couch beside me, loosening his tie. "Great, he's really excited about this new venture. Says it's gonna change everything." I bit my tongue. The transfers I'd been tracking told a different story, one that led straight to several online gambling sites. Did he mention when he might pay back the loan? I tried to keep my voice steady. "Come on, Summer, don't be that person." Luke's smile faded. "Trey's never let us down before." I opened my mouth to argue, but stopped when my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, my best friend, and the only person I'd confided in. Found something. Coffee tomorrow? The next morning, I met Sarah at our usual cafe. Her legal pad was already covered in notes. "Summer, this isn't good," she said, sliding a document across the table. "I did some digging. Trey's business is hemorrhaging money. These are public records showing multiple liens against his properties." My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. How bad? Bad enough that he's been borrowing from everyone he knows. You're not the first, just the latest. I pulled out my own research. Look at these transactions. The money went straight from our account to... Well, isn't this cozy? Trey's voice cut through our conversation like ice. He stood there, perfectly dressed as always, but his eyes were hard. Sarah straightened, lawyer mode engaged. "Trey, what a surprise." "Not really. Small town. Everyone knows everyone's business." He pulled up a chair uninvited, including nosy sisters-in-law who can't mind their own. "The money you took from my children's future is my business," I shot back. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Borrowed, Summer. The word is borrowed, and I don't appreciate you snooping around my affairs." "When are you paying it back?" "Soon." He leaned forward. "But keep pushing, and soon might turn into never. Remember who Luke trusts more." After he left, Sarah grabbed my hand. "That was a threat, Summer. We need to document everything." Back home, I found Luke in his office. "We need to talk about Trey. If this is about the money again, it's about more than that." I pulled out the documents Sarah had given me. "Look at these. Really look at them." Luke scanned the papers, his face growing darker. "These could be manipulated. Trey would never..." "Call the bank yourself," I challenged. "Check where the money went. I'm not making this up, Luke." He stared at me for a long moment before picking up his phone. I watched as he dialed, as he asked questions, as the color drained from his face. "There has to be an explanation," he whispered after hanging up. "There is." I opened my laptop, showing him the gambling site transactions. "He has a problem, Luke, and he's using our daughter's future to fund it." Luke slumped in his chair. "I'll talk to him. He'll fix this." "No." I closed the laptop firmly. "Talking isn't enough anymore. We need to act." "He's my brother, Summer." "And Caitlin is your daughter." My voice cracked. "Whose future are you going to protect?" Before he could answer, my phone pinged with an email notification. My heart stopped when I saw it was from one of the investment firms I'd been investigating. The attachment showed more transactions, dozens of them, all leading to offshore gambling accounts. "Luke," I said quietly, "there's more." As I showed him the email, watching his face crumble with each new revelation, I felt no triumph, only sadness and determination. Trey had gambled with the wrong family's future, and now it was time to show him exactly what a mother was capable of when protecting her children. "What are you going to do?" Luke asked, his voice hollow. I thought of Trey's threat at the cafe, of his smug certainty that family loyalty would protect him. "Whatever it takes," I answered, "and I need to know if you're with me or against me." Luke stared at the documents scattered across his desk. Proof of his brother's betrayal laid bare in black and white. Finally, he looked up at me, and I saw something shift in his eyes. "What's our next move?" Sarah's office felt like a war room, with documents spread across her mahogany desk. My stomach churned as I read through another statement showing Trey's deceptions. "We need more," Sarah said, tapping her pen against a legal pad. "These gambling records are damning, but we need to prove he never intended to repay the loan." "What about his business partner?" Luke suggested quietly. He'd been mostly silent during our meeting, still processing the betrayal. I sat up straighter. "Talon, he's been with Trey since the beginning." "And he might talk," Sarah added. "I heard rumors their partnership's been strained lately." My phone buzzed. Another text from Zariah asking why we'd missed Sunday dinner. I ignored it. "I'll contact Talon," I decided. But we need to be careful. If Trey finds out. He won't, Luke interrupted. I'll keep him distracted. He's been pushing for another family dinner anyway. The next day, I sat in a quiet coffee shop across town, away from our usual spots. Talon arrived exactly on time, looking nothing like the confident businessman I remembered from company parties. His suit was wrinkled, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. Thanks for meeting me, I said, sliding a coffee toward him. I know why you're here. Talon's voice was tired. The money Trey borrowed. Not just mine. How many others? He pulled out his phone, scrolling through files. At least 7 other families, plus what he's taken from the business. He looked up, his expression grim. I've been gathering evidence for months. Why haven't you gone to the authorities? Same reason you haven't. Family complications. My wife's sister invested heavily in our company. If this goes public, he trailed off. I leaned forward. It's going public either way. The question is whether you want to be seen as part of the problem or part of the solution. Talon was quiet for a long moment, stirring his untouched coffee. Finally, he reached into his briefcase and pulled out a USB drive. Everything's here. Bank statements, emails, recorded conversations. He's been using the company to launder money for his gambling debts. He slid the drive across the table. But if anyone asks, you didn't get this from me. Back at Sarah's office, we spent hours going through the files. Each new document revealed another layer of Trey's deception. Look at this. Sarah pointed to an email chain. He was planning to use your money for gambling before he even asked for the loan. This proves premeditation. My phone rang. Trey's number. I showed it to Sarah. Answer it, she mouthed. Put it on speaker. Hello? Summer, dear sister-in-law. His voice oozed charm. Why are you talking to Talon? My heart raced, but I kept my voice steady. What makes you think I am? Small town, remember? People talk, and you're talking to the wrong people. Maybe you should be more worried about what those people are saying. A pause. Is that a threat? No, Trey, that's a warning. The truth has a way of coming out. Careful, Summer. His voice hardened. You're playing a dangerous game. Think about Luke. Think about the family. I am thinking about family, my children's future that you stole. I didn't steal anything. You gave me that money. Under false pretenses. How many others did you scam, Trey? Another pause, longer this time. Meet me tomorrow, just you and me. We can work something out. I caught Sarah's warning look. Not alone. Bring your records, all of them. Meet us at Sarah's office. Bringing lawyers into family business? That's cold. Stealing from your niece's future? That's colder. After I hung up, Sarah gripped my shoulder. You know he won't show. No, I agreed, but now he knows we're serious. I picked up the USB drive, and thanks to Talon, we don't need him to show. Luke called as I was leaving Sarah's office. Trey just called me, ranting about you threatening him. Are you with me on this? I asked, holding my breath. A long pause. All the way, he finally said. But Mom's involved now. She's calling everyone, saying you're trying to destroy the family. I thought of Caitlin, of her dreams we'd planned for, of the trust Trey had shattered. The family was destroyed the moment Trey decided to steal from his own niece. I said, we're just exposing the cracks. As I drove home, I saw Trey's car parked outside our house. He stood in our driveway, that familiar smile plastered on his face, waiting like a spider in its web. Game on, brother-in-law. Game on. The family dinner table felt like a battlefield. Zariah had insisted on hosting, claiming we needed to work things out as a family. I watched Trey charm everyone with stories about his latest business ventures, knowing each word was a lie. Pass the potatoes, Summer? His smile was razor sharp. I handed him the bowl, our fingers briefly touching. How's that investment going, Trey? The one you needed our money for? The table went quiet. Caitlin looked up from her plate, sensing the tension. Thriving, he replied smoothly. These things take time, of course. Really? I cut into my chicken with precise movements. Because I heard your company's facing some difficulties. Summer. Zariah's fork clattered against her plate. This is not the time or place. When is the time, Mom? Luke's quiet voice surprised everyone. When the money's all gone? Trey's facade cracked slightly. Little brother, don't tell me you're buying into these ridiculous accusations. I've seen the proof, Luke said. The gambling sites, the loans, all of it. Caitlin's eyes widened. Uncle Trey gambles? Sweetie, why don't you go watch TV in the living room? I suggested. She hesitated but left when Luke nodded. Well, this is cozy. Trey leaned back, all pretense gone. My own brother and his wife, conspiring against me. It's not conspiring when we have proof, I said. Talon showed us everything. Talon? Trey's laugh was harsh. That backstabbing? That's enough. Zariah stood up. Summer, I expected better from you. Bringing up business matters at dinner, involving Caitlin. Mom, Luke interrupted. Trey took money from your granddaughter's college fund. He's gambling it away. He would never. But I saw doubt flicker in her eyes. Show them, I told Luke. He pulled out his phone, pulling up the documentation we'd prepared. Bank statements, Mom, gambling transactions, evidence from his own business partner. Trey's chair scraped back. This is ridiculous. I don't have to sit here and... Sit down. Zariah's voice was steel. She was looking at the phone screen, color draining from her face. Trey, explain this. It's all perfectly legitimate business. $10,000 to Royal Vegas Casino is legitimate business? Luke's voice cracked. $20,000 to Blue Diamond Gaming? You're reading it wrong. Trey stood again. This is a witch hunt. Summer's always been jealous of my success. Success? I laughed. Is that what you call stealing from family? I didn't steal anything. You gave me that money. Under false pretenses. I stood too, hands flat on the table. You said it was for an investment. You said you'd pay it back in 3 months. It went straight to gambling sites, Trey. We have the transfers. Mom, he turned to Zariah, voice softening. You know me. Would I ever do anything to hurt this family? Zariah looked between us, tears in her eyes. I need a moment. She hurried from the room. Happy now? Trey snarled at me. Destroying the family over money? You destroyed this family the moment you decided to gamble with my daughter's future. I shot back. I'll pay it back. With what? Luke asked. The company's broke. Talon showed us the books. Talon needs to learn to keep his mouth shut. Trey's threat hung in the air. Is that what you'll do to him? I asked. What you did to the others who trusted you. Others? Zariah had returned, her face pale. What others? 7 other families, Luke said quietly. All promised returns on their investments, all lost to gambling. Trey moved toward the door. This is all a misunderstanding. Give me time. Time's up, I said. We're going to the police. He froze. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Mom? He looked at Zariah pleadingly. She sat heavily in her chair. What happened to you, Trey? What happened to my boy? Nothing happened. They're twisting everything. The numbers don't lie, Luke said. Neither does Talon. Trey's hand was on the doorknob. You'll regret this, all of you. After he left, we heard his car screech out of the driveway. Zariah was crying silently. Mom. Luke moved to comfort her, but she held up a hand. How much? She asked. How much did he take? From us, 50,000, I said. From others, we're still finding out. She nodded slowly, then looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. What are you going to do? I thought of Caitlin in the other room, of her future hanging in the balance, of all the other families Trey had betrayed. What I should have done weeks ago, I said. I'm going to make him face consequences. Sarah's office buzzed with activity as we prepared our case. Documents covered every surface, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from other victims who'd heard about our investigation. That's the fourth family this morning, Sarah said, adding another statement to our growing pile. Trey's been busy. Luke paced by the window. He's not answering my calls. His office says he hasn't been in for days. Because he's at the Grand Casino, I said, holding up my phone. Someone just saw him there. Luke grabbed his keys. I'm going. Not alone. I stood up. I'm coming with you. The drive to the casino was tense. Luke's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. What if he's lost it all? Then he'll face the consequences, I said, but my stomach churned. The Grand Casino loomed ahead, its gaudy lights harsh in the afternoon sun. We found Trey at a blackjack table, surrounded by empty glasses. Well, well, he slurred, not looking up from his cards. The dynamic duo. We need to talk, Luke said. Now? I'm a little busy. Trey placed another bet. Unless you're here to stake me, I'm due for a win. I stepped forward. How much have you lost today? None of your business. Actually, I pulled out my phone, showing him the legal documents. It is. These are statements from 7 other families you've scammed. We're filing charges. His cards dropped. You're bluffing. Try me. I swiped to show more documents. Fraud, theft by deception, embezzlement. Sarah says you're looking at serious time. Finally, he looked at us. His eyes were bloodshot, his expensive suit wrinkled. You'd send your own brother to jail? You sent yourself there, Luke said quietly, the moment you stole from my daughter. A security guard approached. Is everything okay here? Fine. Trey smiled, but it was shaky. My family was just leaving. Actually, I said, we're not. Not without answers. Trey stood abruptly, chips scattering. You want answers? Fine. Let's talk outside. In the parking lot, the facade crumbled completely. You think you're so righteous? He spat. Perfect summer, perfect Luke, perfect little family. This isn't about being perfect, I said. This is about you stealing from your niece. I was going to pay it back. One big win. That's all I needed. And the other families? Luke demanded. Were you going to pay them back too? Trey laughed, a hollow sound. You don't understand. The rush, the thrill when you're winning. I had it under control. Under control. I pulled up the bank statements. You lost $30,000 yesterday alone. Because you're pressuring me. If you'd just given me time. Time for what? Luke stepped closer. To lose more? To destroy more families? A sleek black car pulled into the lot. Talon stepped out, followed by 2 police officers. What is this? Trey's voice cracked. Justice, I said simply. Talon's pressing charges for embezzlement. We're all testifying. You can't do this to me. He grabbed Luke's arm. Brother, please. Mom will never forgive you. Mom's the one who called the police, Luke said quietly. Trey's face went ash white. What? After you left dinner, she found your old phone, saw all the messages from bookies, the threats. She called them herself. The officers approached. Mr. Freeman, we need you to come with us. This isn't happening, Trey muttered. This can't be happening. It is, I said. And do you want to know the saddest part? If you'd just been honest, asked for help with your gambling addiction, the family would have supported you. Instead, you chose to steal and lie. I'll destroy you, he hissed as the officers led him away. All of you, this isn't over. Actually, Talon stepped forward. It is. The DA has everything. Bank records, witness statements, all of it. It's over, Trey. We watched as they put him in the police car. Luke's shoulders shook slightly. He did this to himself, I said softly, taking his hand. I know. He squeezed my hand, but it still hurts. My phone buzzed. A text from Zariah. Is it done? I typed back. Yes, they have him. Her response came quickly. Come over, Caitlin's here. We need to talk about the future. As we drove away from the casino, I watched Trey's police escort in the rearview mirror. He'd gambled with more than money. He'd bet on family loyalty protecting him from consequences. It was a bet he'd lost spectacularly. What now? Luke asked. Now? I thought of Caitlin, of the other families, of the long road ahead. Now we rebuild, but first we make sure justice is served. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. News of Trey's arrest had spread like wildfire through our small town, and everyone wanted details of the Golden Boy's fall from grace. Mrs. Freeman, a reporter shoved a microphone in my face. Is it true your brother-in-law stole from multiple families? Luke pulled me closer as we pushed through the crowd. Sarah met us at the top of the steps, legal briefcase in hand. Ready? She asked, straightening my collar. Remember, let me do most of the talking. Inside, we found Zariah already seated in the front row. Her face was drawn, but her spine was steel straight. Did you see the newspaper? She asked, holding up the morning edition. The headline screamed, Local businessman accused of family fraud scheme. Mom, you don't have to be here, Luke said gently. Yes, I do. She gripped her purse tightly. He needs to see that actions have consequences. The bailiff called for order as Trey was let in. His designer suit had been replaced by prison orange, his confident stride now a shuffle. When he saw us, his eyes narrowed. All rise, the bailiff announced. The Honorable Judge Martinez presiding. The preliminary hearing moved quickly. Sarah presented our evidence methodically. Bank statements, witness testimonies, Talon's documentation. With each new piece of evidence, Trey seemed to shrink further into himself. Your Honor, his lawyer argued, my client is willing to make restitution. With what money? Sarah interrupted. Our investigation shows Mr. Freeman has gambling debts exceeding $2 million. A gasp rippled through the courtroom. Zariah's hand found mine, squeezing tight. Furthermore, Sarah continued, we have evidence that Mr. Freeman was attempting to flee the country. Airline tickets to non-extradition countries were found in his possession at the time of arrest. Trey's lawyer shuffled his papers nervously. My client, your client. Sarah's voice cut like glass, systematically defrauded his own family members and multiple others. He preyed on trust and familial bonds for personal gain. The judge peered over his glasses. Mr. Freeman, do you have anything to say for yourself? Trey stood slowly. Your Honor, I had every intention of paying everyone back. I just needed time. Time to lose more money gambling? I couldn't help myself. Sarah shot me a warning look. Order, the judge warned. Then to Trey, continue. These people, Trey gestured to us, they're making me out to be some kind of monster, but they gave me that money willingly. Ask them. Under false pretenses, Sarah countered, with fraudulent documentation promising returns on legitimate investments. The evidence is quite compelling, the judge noted. I'm setting bail at $5 million. Trey's face went pale. I can't afford that. Then you'll remain in custody until trial. The gavel came down with finality. As they led Trey away, he turned to us. This isn't over. Family doesn't do this to family. You did this to yourself. Zariah's voice rang out clear and strong. Every time you chose gambling over honesty, every time you stole from your own blood, Outside, the reporters were waiting. Sarah handled them professionally, while Luke, Zariah, and I slipped out a side door. "Mom?" Luke asked as we reached the parking lot. "Are you okay?" "No," she admitted, "but I'm proud of us, all of us." She turned to me. "Especially you, Summer. You saw the truth when I was too blind to see it." My phone buzzed, a text from Talon. "More victims coming forward. DA wants to meet tomorrow." "It's not over," I told them, showing the message. "No," Luke agreed, "but at least the truth is out now." We drove to pick up Caitlin from school. She ran to us, waving a paper. "Mom, Dad, I got an A on my science project." I hugged her tight, thinking of the college fund we were fighting to recover. "That's my girl." "Is Uncle Trey still in trouble?" she asked quietly. "Yes, sweetie." Luke knelt beside her. "He did some bad things, and now he has to face the consequences. Like when I broke Mom's vase and had to use my allowance to buy a new one." A laugh bubbled up despite everything. "Something like that, just bigger." Back home, Sarah called with updates. More victims were emerging. The DA was building an even stronger case, and forensic accountants had traced money to offshore accounts. "We're going to win this," she assured me. "He's not getting away with it." After hanging up, I found Luke in our bedroom, looking at old family photos. One showed him and Trey as kids, both grinning at the camera. "We did the right thing," I said softly. "I know." He put the photo down. "But doing the right thing still hurts like hell." The courtroom fell silent as I took the witness stand. 3 months had passed since Trey's arrest, and the trial was finally reaching its climax. He sat at the defense table, still wearing his prison orange, still wearing that smirk, though it looked more desperate now. "Please state your name for the record," the prosecutor began. "Summer Freeman." "And what is your relationship to the defendant?" "He's my brother-in-law, my husband Luke's older brother." The prosecutor nodded, approaching with a document. "Can you tell us about the events of June 15th? "That was the day Trey asked to borrow money from our daughter's college fund." My voice stayed steady as I recounted the barbecue, the private conversation, the overheard phone call. "And how much did the defendant take?" $50,000. "Objection." Trey's lawyer stood. "The word take implies theft. My client was given this money." "Sustained," the judge agreed. "Rephrase. How much did Mr. Freeman receive from your daughter's college fund?" I repeated the amount, then detailed the paper trail Sarah had helped us uncover. With each revelation, I watched Trey's smirk fade. "Mrs. Freeman," the prosecutor continued, "what made you suspicious?" "The phone call I overheard. He was laughing about how easy it was to get money from family, called us suckers." I looked directly at Trey. Then I found the gambling transactions. Trey's lawyer cross-examined aggressively. "Isn't it true you've always been jealous of my client's success?" "What success?" I shot back. "The facade he maintained while stealing from his own family?" "Answer the question, Mrs. Freeman." "No, I wasn't jealous. I was suspicious. There's a difference." "And isn't it true you orchestrated this whole investigation to destroy my client's reputation?" "He destroyed his own reputation when he chose to gamble with children's futures." The defense lawyer changed tactics. "You gave him this money willingly, correct?" "Under false pretenses. He claimed it was for a legitimate investment." "But you gave it willingly?" "Because he was family." My voice cracked slightly. "Because we trusted him." After I stepped down, Talon took the stand. His testimony was devastating. Detailed records of embezzlement, secret gambling accounts, desperate attempts to cover losses with new victims' money. During a recess, Luke found me in the hallway. "You did great up there." "Thanks." I leaned against him. "How's your mom holding up?" "She's next to testify. Says she's ready." Zariah's testimony proved to be the final nail in Trey's coffin. She spoke with quiet dignity about finding his old phone, about the threatening messages from bookies, about her own role in calling the police. My son, she said, looking directly at Trey, chose gambling over family, chose lies over trust. As his mother, it breaks my heart. But as a grandmother, I cannot stay silent while he steals from innocent children. Trey finally cracked. He stood up suddenly, shocking everyone. You're all against me. This is a conspiracy. Mr. Freeman, sit down, the judge ordered. You think you're better than me? He shouted. I made this family. Everything Luke has is because of me. Remove the defendant, the judge commanded. As guards approached, Trey's rage turned to desperation. Mom, please, tell them I was going to pay it back. Zariah didn't flinch. Like you paid back the others? Like you paid back Mrs. Watson, who lost her retirement? Or the Thompsons, who lost their house? They dragged him out, his shouts echoing through the courtroom. The judge called for order. During closing arguments, Sarah sat with us in the gallery. The prosecutor's summary was damning. Systematic fraud, betrayal of trust, gambling addiction left untreated, multiple victims across state lines. The jury took only 2 hours to reach a verdict. On the charge of grand theft by deception, how do you find? Guilty? On the charge of fraud, guilty. The guilty verdicts kept coming. With each one, I felt the weight of the past months lifting. When the judge announced the sentence, 15 years with no possibility of parole for 8 years, plus full restitution to all victims, Trey finally stopped smirking. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed again. This time, I faced them directly. Mrs. Freeman, what do you say to families who might be facing similar situations? I thought of all the nights I doubted myself, all the family tension, all the pain of exposing the truth. Trust your instincts, I said firmly, and remember that real family doesn't steal from family. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. As we walked away, Caitlin ran up from where she'd been waiting with a family friend. Is it over, Mom? I hugged her tight. Yes, sweetie, the truth won. And my college fund? The judge ordered Uncle Trey to pay it all back, plus extra. She nodded solemnly. Good, because I want to be a lawyer like Aunt Sarah. Despite everything, we all laughed. Sometimes justice comes full circle. The doorbell chimed as I balanced a tray of cookies, fresh from the oven. Opening the door revealed Sarah, clutching a thick manila envelope. They found it, she announced, striding into our kitchen. The offshore account Trey was hiding. The forensic accountants finally cracked it. Luke looked up from helping Caitlin with her homework. How much? Nearly $1 million. Sarah spread documents across our counter. They're starting the recovery process. Your family's money will be the first returned, along with the Thompsons and Watsons. My hands shook slightly as I set down the cookies. All of it? Plus interest. Sarah smiled. The judge was very clear about that part. The front door opened again, Zariah carrying grocery bags. Since the trial, she'd been spending more time with us, making up for lost years of focusing on the wrong son. I brought ingredients for dinner, she announced, then noticed Sarah's presence. Oh, is this good news or bad news? The best news, Luke said, showing her the documents. Zariah sank into a chair. He really had that much hidden away? More than that, Sarah explained. The gambling wasn't his only secret. He was running a whole Ponzi scheme through his business. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Talon, looking more relaxed than I'd seen him in months. Did Sarah tell you about the account? We're just going through the details, I said, offering him a cookie. There's more, he added. The company's being restructured. Luke, we want you to take over Trey's position. Luke's eyes widened. Me? You know the business better than anyone, and the board trusts you. Caitlin tugged at my sleeve. Mom, does this mean my college fund is safe? More than safe, I hugged her. It means all the wrong things are being made right. Speaking of right, Sarah pulled out another document. Mrs. Watson wanted you to have this. It was a thank you card, signed by dozens of Trey's victims. Messages of gratitude filled every space. Thank you for being brave. You gave us our lives back. Your strength helped us all. The support group is really helping people, Sarah explained. Victims of financial fraud often feel so alone, so ashamed. You changed that. We all did, I corrected, looking around at our kitchen full of allies. Zariah wiped her eyes. I keep thinking about Trey, alone in that cell. He made his choices, Luke said gently, but he's getting help now. Real help for the gambling addiction. He wrote to me, she admitted, says he's finally understanding what he did wrong, that he's sorry. Actions speak louder than words, I said, but without bitterness. The anger had faded, replaced by something like peace. Speaking of actions, Talon pulled out his phone. The story's gone national. People are calling you a hero, Summer. I shook my head. I'm not a hero. I'm just a mom who refused to let someone steal her daughter's future. That's what makes you a hero, Caitlin said seriously, making us all laugh. The evening turned into an impromptu celebration. As we gathered around our dining table, I looked at each face. Luke, stronger for having chosen truth over blind loyalty. Zariah, wiser and more present. Sarah and Talon, who risked their careers to fight for justice. And Caitlin, already showing signs of the fierce advocate she might become. I have an announcement, Caitlin stood up suddenly. I got the highest grade on my essay about moral courage. What was your topic? Talon asked. She beamed. I wrote about Mom, about how sometimes the bravest thing isn't fighting dragons, but standing up to family when they're wrong. Luke squeezed my hand under the table, and, she continued, Ms. Roberts wants me to read it at the school assembly. She says it might help other kids whose families are going through hard times. That's my girl, I whispered, throat tight with emotion. As dinner wound down, Sarah gathered her documents. The restitution payments will start next week. Every victim will get their money back. It's not just about the money anymore, I realized aloud. It's about showing that truth matters, that trust is sacred, that family doesn't mean enabling wrong choices, and that mothers are a force to be reckoned with, Zariah added with a wink. Later, after everyone had left and Caitlin was in bed, Luke and I sat on our porch swing. The night was quiet, peaceful. Thank you, he said suddenly. For what? For being stronger than all of us, for seeing the truth when we couldn't, for protecting our family by being willing to break it apart to save it. I leaned against him, watching the stars. Sometimes the deepest wounds lead to the greatest healing. Sometimes the hardest battles leave you stronger. And sometimes, just sometimes, doing the right thing brings its own kind of peace. We're going to be okay, I said softly, and for the first time in months, I knew it was absolutely true. I stared at the pink and gold balloons floating against our living room ceiling, each one a reminder that today wasn't just about celebrating my daughter's 8th birthday. It was about surviving another encounter with my ex-husband, Edward. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted the Happy Birthday Callie banner for the 10th time. Mom, is Dad really bringing his girlfriend? Callie's voice startled me from behind. I turned to find her already dressed in her new party dress, her dark curls perfectly framing her worried face. I'm Phoebe, and these moments, these little glimpses of anxiety in my daughter's eyes, are exactly why I'd spent the last year meticulously planning my revenge against Edward. Hey, sweetie, yes, Genesis is coming, but today is all about you, okay? I knelt down to her level, straightening the bow on her dress. And look who's here early to help us set up. Right on cue, my best friend Stella burst through the front door, arms loaded with shopping bags. The party fairy has arrived, and she comes bearing last-minute supplies. Callie's face lit up as she ran to help Stella unpack, momentarily forgetting her concerns about her father's new girlfriend. I watched them together, grateful for Stella's perfect timing and unwavering support since the divorce. "You're a lifesaver," I whispered as Stella passed me, squeezing her arm. "And you're too tense," she whispered back. "Remember the plan. Everything's in place." The doorbell rang again, and this time it was my brother Davis, carrying a massive wrapped present that barely fit through the doorway. "Where's my favorite niece?" "Uncle Davis," Callie squealed, abandoning the party supplies to launch herself at him. "Careful with that dress, young lady," I called out, but I couldn't help smiling. Having my support system here early helped steady my nerves. The next hour flew by in a whirlwind of last-minute preparations. I was hanging the final streamers when my phone buzzed. A text from Vincenzo, my attorney. "All set for Monday. Stay calm today." "Phoebe," Stella called from the kitchen, "you might want to see this." I found her by the window, watching Edward's black Mercedes pull into the driveway. Genesis sat in the passenger seat, looking exactly like the Instagram model she was, young, gorgeous, and completely unaware she was dating a snake. "Game face on," Stella muttered, squeezing my shoulder. The doorbell rang, and Callie raced to answer it before I could stop her. "Daddy, there's my princess." Edward's voice boomed through the foyer. I rounded the corner to find him hugging our daughter, Genesis awkwardly holding a large gift bag beside them. Edward's eyes met mine, and that familiar smirk played across his lips, the one that always meant trouble. "Phoebe," he nodded, "the house looks nice, though I see you're still using that old furniture we bought together." "The furniture I got in the settlement, you mean?" I kept my voice light, aware of Callie watching our interaction. "Genesis, welcome. The drinks are in the kitchen." More guests started arriving, Callie's friends and their parents, mostly familiar faces from school. I kept one eye on Edward as I played hostess, noting how he whispered with Genesis between greeting people, how his hand kept touching the messenger bag he'd brought in with him. "He's up to something," Davis murmured, appearing at my elbow with a fresh glass of wine for me. "I know," I replied, taking a grateful sip, "but so am I." The party was in full swing when I overheard Edward talking to one of the other parents. "Oh, you should hear some of the stories I could tell about our marriage. In fact," he patted his messenger bag meaningfully, and my heart rate kicked up a notch. "Mom," Callie called from across the room, "can we do cake now?" I plastered on my brightest smile. "Of course, sweetie. Everyone, it's cake time." As I headed to the kitchen to get the cake ready, I caught Edward's reflection in the hallway mirror. He was pulling something from his bag, something that looked suspiciously like my old leather-bound diary, the diary I'd accidentally left behind during the move. Stella appeared beside me, helping with the candles. "Is that what I think it is?" "Right on schedule," I whispered, striking a match. "Let him think he's won. The best revenge is patient." I carried the lit birthday cake toward the dining room, my daughter's excited face illuminated by the dancing flames. Edward stood at the ready with his phone, probably planning to record whatever scene he was about to cause. Little did he know, every move he made today was another step closer to his own downfall. "Make a wish, sweetheart," I said to Callie, but in my head, I was making a wish of my own, that Edward's karma was about to catch up with him in the most spectacular way possible. After Callie blew out her candles, Edward sidled up next to me as I cut the cake. "Remember how we used to write in our diaries every night?" he asked loudly enough for nearby parents to hear. Such an intimate habit. I kept slicing, maintaining my composure. Would you hand me those plates, Edward? You know what's funny? He grabbed the plates but held them just out of reach. I found something interesting while cleaning out the garage last week. Dad, can I have the first piece? Callie interrupted, tugging at his sleeve. Of course, Princess. He handed her a plate, then turned back to me with that predatory smile. We should share some old memories with your friends, Phoebe, for old time's sake. Stella appeared between us, snatching the plates from Edward's hands. I'll help serve. Edward, I think Genesis is looking for you. But Genesis was already approaching, her perfectly manicured hand sliding into Edward's arm. The party is lovely, Phoebe. Edward told me so much about your creative writing. My knife sliced through the cake with more force than necessary. Did he now? Mom, Callie called out, chocolate frosting already smeared across her chin. Can we open presents after cake? Sure, sweetie. Why don't you go sit with your friends? I watched her skip away, then turned to Edward and Genesis. Interesting that you've been discussing my writing. I didn't realize my old diaries were such fascinating reading material. Edward's smirk faltered slightly. He'd expected me to be embarrassed, to react defensively. Instead, I was calling him out in front of his new girlfriend. Well, Genesis shifted uncomfortably. Edward mentioned finding some old journals. And you're okay with him reading his ex-wife's private thoughts? I asked innocently. That's very understanding of you. Before either could respond, Davis approached with an empty plate. This cake is amazing, sis. Hey, Edward, mind if I borrow you for a minute? Got a question about that investment opportunity you mentioned last time. I watched them walk away, Genesis trailing behind like a lost puppy. Stella immediately took their place, helping me serve the remaining cake slices. He's definitely planning something with that diary, she whispered, but you seem weirdly calm about it. Watch this, I murmured, then raised my voice. Callie, honey, remember that special entry Daddy asked you to help him find in my old diary last week? The room grew quieter as Callie answered cheerfully. Yeah, the one about the lawyer meeting. Edward's head snapped around so fast I thought he might get whiplash. His face had gone slightly pale. What lawyer meeting? Genesis asked, looking between Edward and me. Oh, just some boring legal stuff, I said lightly. Edward's been very interested in my old diary entries lately, especially the ones from last month. Last month? Genesis frowned. But you said you found it while cleaning out the garage last week. Edward cut her off. Let's do presents. Callie wants to open presents, right, Princess? As everyone gathered around the gift table, Stella nudged me. Did Callie really help him find an entry? Nope, I whispered back. But he doesn't know that. And now Genesis is suspicious, and he's rattled. You're evil, Stella grinned. I love it. We watched as Callie tore into her presents, her excitement genuine and infectious. Edward kept glancing between his messenger bag and me, clearly recalculating his plan. Mom, look what Uncle Davis got me. Callie held up a beautiful art set, complete with professional colored pencils and a leather-bound sketchbook. Speaking of books, Edward suddenly announced, I have something special to share with everyone. Edward, Genesis touched his arm. Maybe now isn't the best time. He shrugged her off, reaching for his bag. No, everyone should hear what Phoebe really thinks about. Actually, I interrupted, Callie, didn't you want to show everyone your new dance routine? The one you've been practicing? Yes, she jumped up, already starting to clear space in the living room. Edward's jaw clenched. His moment had been stolen, and he knew it. I caught Genesis watching him with growing uncertainty, exactly as I'd hoped. As Callie prepared for her impromptu performance, I felt my phone buzz. Another text from Vincenzo. Documents ready. Edward took the bait. I typed back quickly, hook, line, and sinker. He has no idea what's in the other diary. Because that was Edward's fatal flaw. He always thought he was the smartest person in the room. He never considered that the diary he'd found might not be the only one, or that his daughter's innocent comments might be carefully scripted, or that his ex-wife might have spent months setting up the perfect trap. The best part? He was about to spring it himself. Callie's dance routine bought me 15 precious minutes, during which Edward kept fidgeting with his messenger bag like a teenager with a secret note. When she finished, the room erupted in applause, and I noticed Genesis slip away to the bathroom, her face troubled. "That was beautiful, sweetheart," I said, hugging Callie. "Why don't you show your friends your new room? We just finished painting it last weekend." As the kids thundered upstairs, Edward made his move. He approached me with the diary in hand, Genesis notably absent from his side. "Quite the performance," he said, "almost as dramatic as some of your diary entries." "You would know," I replied, "since you've been so busy reading them." Davis appeared at my shoulder. "Everything okay here?" "Perfect," Edward smiled, all teeth. "Just catching up with my favorite ex-wife." "I'm your only ex-wife," I pointed out. "So far, anyway." Genesis returned just in time to hear this, and I noticed her flinch slightly. "Interesting." "Genesis," I turned to her warmly. "I've been meaning to ask, how did you and Edward meet? He never mentioned." "Oh, she glanced at Edward. "At a coffee shop, actually, just a few months ago." "Months?" I raised my eyebrows. "But Edward told the divorce court he'd been seeing you for—" "Phoebe," Edward cut in sharply, "I think it's time we shared some entertainment with our guests. I found something fascinating in this old diary of yours." Stella, who'd been circulating with fresh drinks, paused nearby. "Is that the diary you asked Callie about last week, Edward? The one with all those interesting legal notes?" Edward's confidence wavered for a split second. "What? No, this is different." My phone buzzed again. "Vincenzo. Court recorder confirmed. Everything from last month's meeting is documented. You know what would be fun?" I said brightly. "We should compare diaries, because I could have sworn I left my old one at the house, but this morning I found another one in my desk. Very similar looking, easy to mix up." Edward's face went from smug to uncertain. "What other diary?" "Mom," Callie called from upstairs. "Can you come here a minute?" "Excuse me," I smiled sweetly. "Duty calls. Feel free to start your dramatic reading without me, Edward. I'm sure whatever you found is fascinating." As I headed upstairs, I heard Genesis ask, "What did she mean about the divorce court?" I found Callie and her friends playing with her new art set, completely oblivious to the drama unfolding below. "What's up, sweetie? Can we have ice cream up here?" "Nice try. Food stays downstairs." I kissed her forehead. "Having fun?" "Yeah, but—" She lowered her voice. "Dad keeps acting weird, like when he made me help him look for that book last week." "Oh?" I kept my voice casual. "What did he have you look for?" "He wanted to find something about a meeting, but then he got really mad when he couldn't find it." "Perfect." I heard raised voices from downstairs. "You said we met before the divorce was final." Genesis's voice carried clearly. "Genesis, honey, let me explain." I took my time returning downstairs, pausing at the top to text Vincenzo. "Almost showtime. Stand by." The scene I returned to was better than I could have hoped. Genesis stood near the front door, arms crossed, while Edward clutched the diary like a shield. Several party parents were pretending not to watch, while obviously hanging on every word. "Everything okay?" I asked innocently. "Fine," Edward snapped. "Just fine. In fact, why don't we all sit down and I'll share some choice excerpts from Phoebe's private thoughts." "Edward," Genesis warned, "don't." But he was too far gone. too committed to his plan to humiliate me. He flipped open the diary with flourish. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "let me tell you about my ex-wife's secret thoughts." Stella caught my eye across the room and gave me a subtle nod. Davis shifted closer to the stairs, ready to keep the kids occupied upstairs. Everything was falling into place. "You really want to do this here?" I asked Edward. "At our daughter's birthday party?" "Oh yes," he smiled nastily. "I really do. Shall we start with your entry from March 15th? I leaned against the wall, crossing my arms. "If you insist. But maybe we should wait for Vincenzo to arrive. I invited him to stop by, you know. My lawyer does love a good story." Edward's hand trembled slightly as he held the diary, but he was too proud, too invested in his revenge to back down now. He cleared his throat and began to read, not realizing he was about to trigger his own downfall. "March 15th, Edward read aloud, his voice dripping with theatrical disdain. "Today I realized my marriage is beyond saving." "That's the day you forgot our anniversary," I commented casually, "for the third year in a row." He shot me a warning glare and continued. "Edward thinks I don't know about the money he's hiding." Genesis shifted uncomfortably. "Edward, maybe we should—" No, he waved her off. "This gets better. Listen to this. I can't believe how naive I've been. All those late nights at the office, the ones you spent with your secretary," I supplied helpfully. "Before Genesis?" A few parents exchanged knowing looks. Edward's face reddened, but he plowed ahead, flipping to another page. "Here's a good one. Meeting with the lawyer today. Edward has no idea what's coming." He looked up triumphantly. "See, she's been plotting against me all along." "Which lawyer meeting is that?" I asked innocently. "The one from last month, or—" Edward faltered, scanning the page more carefully. "This is—" Wait. The doorbell rang. Stella opened it to reveal Vincenzo, right on cue, carrying a leather briefcase. "Sorry I'm late," he announced. "Traffic was terrible." "Oh, Edward, I see you found the diary. Excellent." "What is he doing here?" Edward demanded. "I told you he was coming," I reminded him. "Please continue reading. You were just getting to the interesting part about the lawyer meetings." Genesis stepped forward. "Edward, what's going on? What lawyer meetings?" "Nothing." He flipped through the pages frantically. "This isn't— Where's the entry about—" "About what?" I pressed. "The offshore accounts? The backdated documents? Or maybe the real estate deal you forgot to mention during the divorce proceedings?" The color drained from Edward's face. "That's not— Those weren't—" "Dad?" Callie's voice came from the top of the stairs. "Why are you yelling?" "Princess, go back to your friends," Edward called up, his voice strained. "The adults are just talking." Davis smoothly intercepted Callie. "Hey, kiddo, let's go check out that new art set properly. I bet we can draw something awesome." Once they disappeared, Edward rounded on me. "You set this up, this whole thing, the diary, the party, all of it." "Set what up?" I asked. "You're the one who brought my diary to our daughter's birthday party to read aloud. I merely invited my lawyer to attend, since you seemed so interested in legal matters lately." "The diary entry you wanted," Vincenzo added helpfully, "about the offshore accounts? That would be in the other diary, the one you had Callie help you search for last week." Genesis's eyes widened. "What offshore accounts?" "There aren't any," Edward started. "Actually," Vincenzo interrupted, opening his briefcase, "I have the documentation right here, along with some very interesting phone recordings from last month's meeting where you accidentally admitted to—" "Shut up!" Edward shouted, throwing the diary down. "This is ridiculous. Genesis, we're leaving." "Not with my car, you're not," Genesis said quietly. "I think I'll call an Uber." The room had gone deadly silent. Every parent at the party was watching the scene unfold with a mixture of horror and fascination. "Edward," I said softly. You really should have read the diary more carefully before deciding to use it against me, or at least check the dates of the entries. He snatched up the diary again, thumbing through it desperately. His face went from angry to confused to horrified as he finally realized what he was actually reading. This isn't, he stammered. Your own words? I finished for him. Amazing what people will write down when they think no one's watching, like in email drafts, or personal journals, or legal depositions. You had no right to protect myself and our daughter from your schemes? I picked up the diary he'd dropped. You brought this on yourself, Edward. I just made sure there was a record of it. Genesis was already at the door, her phone in hand. I'll be sending someone for my things tomorrow, Edward, and my lawyer will be in touch. Genesis, wait! He started after her, then turned back to glare at me. This isn't over. Actually, Vincenzo said, holding up a document, according to these papers, it very much is. As Edward stormed out after Genesis, Stella appeared at my side with a fresh glass of wine. Well, that was quite a show. The show's not over yet, I murmured, watching Edward's retreating back. That was just Act 1. Upstairs, I could hear Callie laughing with her friends, blissfully unaware of the drama that had just unfolded, and that's exactly how I wanted it to stay. Her protected, happy, while her father's carefully constructed house of cards came tumbling down. The party parents started gathering their children, making polite but hasty exits. I couldn't blame them. They'd just witnessed enough drama to fuel the school pickup line gossip for months. I'll start cleaning up, Stella offered, collecting paper plates. First, Vincenzo interrupted, we should discuss what happens next. Edward's not going to take this lying down. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Genesis, her mascara slightly smudged. My Uber's coming, but can we talk? I nodded, leading her to the kitchen while Stella and Vincenzo handled damage control in the living room. I had no idea, Genesis said immediately, about any of it. The timing of our relationship, the accounts, none of it. I know. I handed her a glass of water. That's why I made sure you were here today. You could have warned me privately. Would you have believed me? She took a shaky sip. No, I wouldn't have. He told me you were bitter, unstable, trying to ruin his life. And now? Now, I'm wondering what else he lied about. She pulled out her phone, showing me a text from Edward. Baby, don't listen to her. I can explain everything. Meet me at our spot in an hour. Let me guess, I said. The coffee shop where you met? How did you? Because that's where he took me when he needed to smooth things over. It's his go-to manipulation spot. Public enough that you can't make a scene, private enough for intimate conversations. Upstairs, I heard Callie's laughter mixing with her friends' voices. Davis was doing an excellent job keeping them occupied. There's something else you should know, I told Genesis. Check your banking app. She frowned but did as suggested. Her face went pale. My savings, they're gone. How did you? I didn't. Edward did, about an hour ago, when he realized things weren't going his way. He's done it before. Vincenzo appeared in the doorway. Miss Kelly, if you'd like to press charges, I have the documentation ready. Genesis's phone buzzed again. Edward, calling now. She declined the call. I have a better idea, she said, her voice hardening. You mentioned another diary? Before I could respond, Callie came bounding into the kitchen. Mom, can we have a sleepover? Please, just 2 friends? I caught Davis hovering protectively in the doorway. Sure, sweetie. Why don't you go pick out some movies while I talk to their parents? After she left, Genesis stood up straighter. I want to help. Whatever you're planning next, I want in. It's not about revenge, I clarified. It's about justice and protecting others from falling into the same trap. Like me, you mean? Her laugh was bitter. Trust me, I get it now. So, about that other diary. Stella joined us, holding up her phone. Edward's just posted on Facebook. Says you're trying to frame him, that you've lost your mind. Right on schedule, Vincenzo smiled. Screenshot everything. My phone lit up with a text from Edward. You think you're so clever, but I still have the real diary, the one that'll destroy you. He doesn't know, Genesis realized, about the switch. Nope. I showed them my phone, and he's about to make his biggest mistake yet. Mom, Callie called from the living room. Sarah and Emma's parents said yes. Be right there. I turned to Genesis. You should probably go. Your Uber's here, and you don't want to be late for coffee. She smiled, a real smile this time, with a hint of steel behind it. No, I definitely don't. Send me the details. After she left, Vincenzo gathered his papers. Everything's in motion. The bank records are ready, the recordings are secured, and the second diary is safe. What about the custody modification? I asked quietly. After today's display, it's practically guaranteed. No judge will look kindly on a father who tries to humiliate his ex-wife at their child's birthday party. Stella started loading the dishwasher. You know he's gonna try something desperate now. Counting on it, I replied, watching through the window as Genesis's Uber pulled away. He always lashes out when he's cornered, and this time, we're ready. My phone buzzed again. Edward had tagged me in his Facebook rant. The comments were already flowing in, exactly as planned. Every angry word, every false accusation, every threat was another nail in his coffin. Mom, Callie appeared again. Can we make popcorn for the movie? Of course, baby. I smiled at my daughter, so innocent and unaware of the storm swirling around her. Extra butter? As I prepared the popcorn, listening to the girls giggle upstairs, I felt a strange sense of calm. Edward thought he was about to expose my secrets, but he didn't realize he was walking right into a trap of his own making. The real diary, the one he thought would destroy me, was about to destroy him instead. The next morning, while Callie and her friends were still asleep upstairs, my phone exploded with notifications. Edward had been busy. Have you seen this? Stella's voice came through the speaker before I could even say hello. He's gone completely off the rails. I opened Facebook to find a live video of Edward, looking disheveled and angry, holding up what he thought was my real diary. Time to expose the truth about Phoebe, he announced to his viewers. Let's start with her secret meetings with my business partners. My phone buzzed with another call. Genesis. I put her on conference with Stella. He's at the coffee shop, Genesis reported, ranting to everyone who'll listen. I'm at a table in the corner, recording everything. Perfect, I said. Is he reading from the diary yet? Just started. He's reading about the offshore accounts. But he thinks he's exposing you, when he's actually exposing himself, Stella finished. Brilliant. The doorbell rang. It was Davis carrying breakfast bagels. Morning, sis. Ready for phase 2? I nodded, pulling up Edward's live stream on my laptop. He was getting more worked up by the minute, reading entries that he believed were mine, but were actually careful reconstructions of his own misdeeds. April 3rd, he read dramatically to his growing audience. Transferred another $50,000 to the Cayman account. No one suspects a thing. My phone lit up with a text from Vincenzo. Police watching the stream, standing by. Mom, Callie appeared in the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. Why is Dad on your computer? I quickly closed the laptop. Just some grown-up stuff, honey. How about some breakfast? Uncle Davis brought bagels. Can we eat in the blanket fort we made? Sure, take some up for your friends, too. After she left, I reopened the laptop. Edward's viewer count was climbing as he dug himself deeper. May 15th, he continued reading, his voice triumphant. Met with Marcus about hiding the real estate profits. The divorce court will never find out. Genesis's voice came through the phone. 3 police officers just walked in. We watched through the live stream as Edward finally noticed the officers approaching his table. His face went from smug to panicked in an instant. "Sir," one officer said, clearly audible on the stream, "we need you to come with us." "What? No, you don't understand. I'm exposing her crimes. It's all right here in her diary." "That diary," a familiar voice said off camera, "is evidence of your own financial fraud, Edward." The camera shook as Edward spun around to find Vincenzo standing there, holding a stack of documents. "You see," Vincenzo continued, loud enough for the stream to pick up, "those aren't Phoebe's words you're reading. They're yours, from your own journal, rewritten in a very similar book. And you've just confessed to everything. Live on Facebook." The color drained from Edward's face. This isn't Edward Salazar. One officer stepped forward. "You're under arrest for financial fraud, tax evasion, and attempted witness intimidation." The live stream ended abruptly, but not before capturing Edward's expression of pure shock as the handcuffs clicked into place. "Mom," Callie called down, "the bagel fort is ready." "Coming, sweetie." I turned to Davis. "Stay here. This next part might get messy." "Of course. Go be with Callie. We'll handle everything else." I headed upstairs with a plate of bagels, leaving behind the sounds of my phone blowing up with messages and calls. In the girls' blanket fort, everything was still innocent and peaceful. "Mom, look." Callie held up a drawing. "It's our family." The picture showed her, me, Davis, and Stella all holding hands. Edward wasn't in it. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Genesis. "It's done. They're taking him to the station. I've given my statement about the stolen savings. Thank you for helping me see the truth." "Mom, you're not listening," Callie pouted. "Sorry, baby." I put my phone away and crawled into the fort. "Tell me about your drawing." As Callie chatted excitedly about her artwork, I heard the faint sound of sirens in the distance. Edward's karma had finally caught up with him, but more importantly, my daughter was safe, happy, and surrounded by love. The diary that Edward thought would destroy me had become the instrument of his own undoing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about letting someone's own actions become their punishment. "Can we have another party next weekend?" Callie asked, completely unaware of the morning's events. "Sure," I smiled, hugging her close. "But maybe something smaller this time." 3 days after the birthday party, I sat in Vincenzo's office, watching the media fallout unfold on his wall-mounted TV. Edward's arrest had made local news, and his Facebook confession had gone viral. "The DA is offering a deal," Vincenzo said, muting the TV, "in exchange for information about his business partner's involvement. And Genesis's money, already recovered, along with funds from 3 other women he'd done the same thing to." A knock at the door interrupted us. It was Davis, looking grim. Callie's school called. Edward's mother showed up, trying to pick her up. My heart stopped. "What?" "It's okay," he quickly added. "They followed the custody agreement. She couldn't take her, but she made a scene saying you'd framed her son." "We need to file a restraining order," Vincenzo said, already reaching for his phone, against both Edward and his mother. My phone buzzed. A text from Stella. "You need to see this. Edward's wife before you just went public with her story." I pulled up the article on my phone. The headline read, "Local businessman's pattern of fraud and manipulation. Ex-wife speaks out." "This changes things," Vincenzo said, reading over my shoulder. With multiple victims coming forward, the DA might not even need that deal. Another knock. This time it was Genesis, carrying a familiar leather-bound book. "Found this in his office safe," she said, placing it on Vincenzo's desk. "His actual diary, the original one you based your decoy on." "You broke into his office?" Davis asked, impressed. "Didn't have to. I was still listed as his executive assistant. Had all the codes." She smiled grimly. Amazing what men forget to change when they're busy covering their tracks. My phone rang. Callie's school again. This time, I put it on speaker. "Mrs. Salazar, your daughter would like to speak with you." "Mom?" Callie's voice was shaky. "Grandma was here. She said Dad's in trouble because of you." "Honey, listen to me." I kept my voice calm. "Your dad made some bad choices. Adult choices that have nothing to do with you. You're safe, and that's what matters. But when is he coming home?" The room fell silent. How do you explain to an 8-year-old that her father might be going to prison? "Sweetie, remember how we talked about consequences? About how choices have results? Like when I didn't do my homework and couldn't watch TV? Similar to that, yes. Your dad made some bad choices, and now he has to deal with the consequences. Is that why he was so mad at your diary?" Genesis raised her eyebrows at me. I shook my head slightly. Some things Callie didn't need to know. "Something like that? Hey, why don't we have Uncle Davis pick you up early? We could get ice cream." After hanging up, Vincenzo spread several documents across his desk. "We need to move fast. Edward's preliminary hearing is tomorrow, and his mother's interference gives us grounds for an emergency custody modification. Plus this," Genesis held up her phone, showing a series of threatening texts from Edward. "He's been busy in holding." "Forward those to me," Vincenzo said, "and the DA." My phone buzzed again. Stella had sent a link to another news article. More victims were coming forward, not just romantic partners, but business associates who'd been caught in Edward's schemes. "Mrs. Reynolds?" Vincenzo's assistant poked her head in. "The DA is on line 1, and there's a detective here to speak with Ms. Kelly." Genesis stood. "That's my cue. Time to make my official statement." "Thank you," I said quietly, "for everything." She paused at the door. "Thank you for opening my eyes before he took everything from me, too." After she left, Davis squeezed my shoulder. "I'll go get Callie. Ice cream and a movie night might be exactly what she needs." Alone with Vincenzo, I finally asked the question that had been nagging at me. "Did we go too far?" "Too far?" He raised an eyebrow. "Phoebe, we didn't do anything except create circumstances where Edward could expose himself. Every word he read on that live stream was his own. Every action he took was his choice. But Callie? We'll understand someday that you protected her from a man who would have eventually hurt her too, just like he hurt everyone else in his life." My phone lit up with another call, Edward's mother again. I declined it. "Ready for the next phase?" Vincenzo asked, holding up the custody modification papers. I thought about Callie's drawing, the one without Edward in it, about how she'd unconsciously known something wasn't right, about how sometimes protecting someone means making hard choices. "Ready," I said, picking up the pen. "Let's finish this." The courthouse hallway felt colder than usual as I waited outside the judge's chambers. Stella sat beside me while Davis paced nervously. "Stop wearing a hole in the floor," Stella told him. "You're making me dizzy." "Sorry," he muttered. "Just can't believe Edward's mother showed up." Through the heavy wooden doors, we could hear muffled voices. Vincenzo presenting our case for full custody, Edward's public defender attempting damage control, and his mother's shrill objections. My phone buzzed with a text from Genesis. "Just finished my testimony. Judge looked ready to throw the book at him. Heading your way." The doors opened, and Vincenzo emerged with a satisfied smile. Judge wants to see you, Phoebe. Alone. Inside the chambers, Judge Martinez sat behind her desk, Edward's original diary open in front of her. Mrs. Salazar, she began, then corrected herself. Phoebe, I've reviewed everything, the financial records, the witness statements, and most importantly, the impact on your daughter. I gripped the arms of my chair, waiting. What interests me most, she continued, isn't what you did, but what you didn't do. You could have exposed him immediately, could have ruined him the moment you found evidence of his crimes. Instead, you created a situation where he would expose himself. I needed to protect Callie, I said simply. Yes, you did, and that's why I'm granting you full custody, with supervised visitation for Edward, if and when he's not incarcerated. My eyes burned with tears of relief. There's something else, she added, holding up Edward's diary. The DA is very interested in these entries about his business partners. This goes deeper than anyone suspected. Outside the chambers, Stella practically tackled me with a hug. Well? Before I could answer, Genesis rushed up, slightly out of breath. Just saw Edward being led out in handcuffs. No bail this time. Full custody, I managed to say. It's over. Not quite, Vincenzo interrupted, checking his phone. The FBI just arrived at Edward's office. Apparently, his diary implicated some very interesting people in some very illegal activities. Mom! We all turned to see Callie running down the hallway, followed by her art teacher, Ms. Reed. Sorry, Ms. Reed said. She insisted on coming when she heard you were here. We were on a field trip to the museum next door. I knelt down to hug Callie. How was the museum? Amazing! I saw this beautiful painting of a storm, and it made me think about how sometimes scary things can also be beautiful. Out of the mouths of babes. Speaking of beautiful things, Davis said, who's up for celebrating? I hear there's a new ice cream place downtown. Actually, Callie said, suddenly serious, can we go home? I want to show you something. At home, Callie ran straight to her room and returned with her sketchbook. She opened it to reveal a series of drawings, our family in different scenes, all showing happiness, all without Edward. Ms. Reed says art helps us process things, she explained. So I drew our family how I want it to be. The last drawing showed me, Callie, Davis, and Stella in front of our house, with Genesis and Vincenzo nearby. Above them, she'd written, My Real Family. This is perfect, I whispered, hugging her close. My phone buzzed one final time, a news alert about Edward's arrest and the federal investigation, but for once, I didn't check it. Hey, kiddo, Stella said. Want to help me make those special sundaes? The ones with extra everything? As Callie ran off with Stella, Davis picked up the sketchbook. She's going to be okay, you know. Kids are resilient. Thanks to all of you, I said. I couldn't have done this alone. You never had to, Genesis added, joining us. That was Edward's mistake, thinking he had to control everything alone. He never understood the power of having people in your corner. The sound of laughter drifted from the kitchen, along with the clatter of ice cream scoops and sprinkle shakers. Come on, Davis grinned, before they use up all the hot fudge. In the kitchen, watching Callie direct her sundae-making operation with theatrical seriousness, I realized something profound. Edward had spent years trying to write our story, controlling the narrative, manipulating the plot. But in the end, we had rewritten it ourselves, creating something better than revenge. A new chapter filled with truth, justice, and most importantly, love. Mom, Callie called, your Sunday's ready. I made it special. I joined my daughter, my real family, and Tham, at the table, ready to start our new story together.
The notification lit up my phone screen like a bomb detonating my life. Breaking, rising digital media star accused of leaking confidential celebrity Interview files. My name is Lexi, and that was the moment my sister won. At least that's what she thought. I was sitting in my favorite coffee shop, preparing notes for what should have been my career-making interview with pop sensation Aria James, when my entire world imploded. Within minutes, my inbox flooded with urgent messages from my editor, Karar, and the legal team. The interview was canceled. My credentials were suspended. Security was waiting to escort me from the building. This has to be a mistake, I kept saying, but nobody was listening. My phone buzzed again. Mom, how could you do this to us? Her voice crackled with that familiar ice-cold disappointment. Get home, now. I tried explaining. Mom, I didn't leak anything. The neighbors are calling. Your father can barely show his face at work. Home, now. The living room felt like a courtroom when I arrived. Dad stood by the window, arms crossed, refusing to look at me. Mom perched on her favorite armchair like a judge ready to pass sentence. And there was Laura, my sister, sitting pristinely on the couch with that concerned expression she'd perfected over years of corporate PR work. I can explain, I started. Explain what? Mom cut in. How you betrayed your sources, made us a laughingstock? Your sister had to leave work early to handle damage control. Laura touched Mom's arm gently. Maybe we should let her speak. That's when I saw it. The tiniest smirk playing at the corner of her mouth. The files weren't even on my computer, I said. Someone must have. Stop lying. Dad finally turned around. The evidence is right there. Your login, your computer, your responsibility. You need help, Lexi, Lara said softly. Real help. And clearly you need supervision. Mom nodded. You're moving back home tomorrow. We'll sort out your apartment later. I'm 29. You can't just... You'll work to pay us back for this embarrassment, Mom continued as if I hadn't spoken. Every penny you earn goes toward rehabilitating this family's reputation. I looked at each of them. Dad's anger, Mom's disgust, and Laura's perfectly manufactured concern. Something clicked in my brain. Fine, I said quietly. You're right. I need help. Later that night, in my soon-to-be former apartment, I packed while my hands shook, but not from fear, from rage, because I found something on my laptop that changed everything. A forgotten email draft never sent, saved under a burner account I'd never created. Attached were the leaked files, time-stamped 3 days before the scandal broke. The sender's IP address had been carefully masked, but I recognized the writing style instantly, the same voice that had just offered me help hours ago. My phone buzzed. Laura. Just checking in, sis, making sure you're okay. I hit record on my phone. Actually, can you come over? I need to talk. 20 minutes later, she swept in, designer purse swinging. You're doing the right thing, accepting help. Mom and Dad just want what's best. Why did you do it? She blinked. Do what? You know what. Laura's perfect mask cracked for just a second. Then she laughed. Oh, sweetie, you always did have an active imagination, but this paranoia, it's exactly why you need family supervision. I have the draft email. Her smile froze. You know what your problem is, Lexi? You never understood your place. Someone had to save the family name before you destroyed it with your little digital media dreams. So you admit it? I admit I did what needed to be done, and now you'll learn your lesson. Work in real jobs, contributing to the family instead of chasing fairy tales about becoming some online influencer. I nodded slowly, watching her confidence grow with each word. You're right, I said. I need to learn my place. She hugged me, squeezing just tight enough to hurt. That's my good little sister. See you tomorrow at home. After she left, I played back the recording. Her voice was crystal clear. I did what needed to be done. I opened my laptop and created a new document. At the top, I typed, evidence log. Day 1. My sister thought she'd won. She thought she'd broken me. But she forgot the most important thing about being a journalist. We know how to investigate. We know how to gather evidence. And we know how to tell a story that changes everything. This was just the beginning. 3 jobs, 18 hours a day, every dollar tracked and claimed by my parents for the family's recovery fund. But they didn't know I was tracking everything too. Order up. Table 7 needs their refills. I grabbed the coffee pot with trembling hands, forcing a smile as I navigated the morning diner rush. 6 hours into my first shift of the day, and my feet already screamed in protest. "You look dead on your feet," said Kira, a regular from the coffee shop next door. She always tipped well and actually looked me in the eyes when ordering. "Long day ahead," I managed, topping off her cup. She leaned in slightly. "I know who you are. I followed your work before. You know." My hand froze mid-pour. "Don't worry," she whispered. "I never believed those accusations. The timing was too convenient, right after your expose on music industry exploitation went viral." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. "Mom, where's today's pay?" Her voice crackled through the speaker. "I don't get paid until Friday, Mom." "Don't lie to me. I called the diner. They said tips are daily." Of course she'd called. "I'll bring them home after my shift at the bookstore." "All of it, Lexi? Every penny." The bookstore shift dragged until 6 p.m. Then it was straight to data entry at the law office until midnight. Preston, my only remaining friend from my journalism days, had helped me land the filing job. "You look worse every time I see you," he said, catching me in the break room. I showed him my notebook, 3 columns of meticulous records, hours worked, money taken, conversations recorded. "Jesus, Lex." He ran a hand through his hair. "This is straight up financial abuse." "I need proof, everything documented." "I might be able to help." He glanced around before continuing. "I've got a secure server set up, anonymous login. You could store everything there, maybe even start writing again under a pseudonym." "They monitor my internet." "Not if you use the VPN I'll give you. Trust me, I've got it covered." Back home at 1 a.m., Mom waited up to collect my earnings. As I handed over the cash, my phone pinged with an email notification. "Who's messaging you this late?" She snatched for my phone. Just an automated reminder from the bookstore about tomorrow's shift. Later, safely in my room, I opened the actual email from a burner account I'd discovered while digging through old data. There it was, proof that Lair had used my login credentials to access and leak those files. "Got a minute?" Kira had messaged me on Instagram. "There's something you should see." We met during my break the next day. She pulled up social media screenshots on her phone, conversations between Laura and her lawyer friend Frankie dating back months before the scandal. Laura, "It's all set up. Once these files drop, she'll never work in media again." Frankie, "IP traces are clean. No one will know." Laura, finally putting Princess Journalist in her place. "They were sloppy," Kira said. "Deleted the posts, but not before I archived them." "Why are you helping me?" She smiled grimly. "Let's just say I recognize family toxicity when I see it, and I'm tired of watching them parade around town playing victim while treating you like their personal ATM." That night, using Preston's secure connection, I created a new online identity, Truth Threader. My first post was simple. What if the Golden Daughter was the villain all along? Within hours, it had hundreds of shares. "Who's spreading lies about me?" Laura burst into my room the next morning, waving her phone. "Did you see this?" I kept my face carefully blank. "See what?" This garbage online? Mom's having anxiety attacks over it?" "I work 3 jobs, Laura. I barely have time to sleep, let alone browse social media." She studied my face. "If I find out you're behind this—" "Behind what?" I'm doing exactly what you all wanted. Working, paying, keeping quiet. After she left, I pulled out my phone and added another entry to my evidence log. Laura shows clear anxiety about truth exposure, threatens retaliation. Preston texted, "Your post is gaining traction. Ready for phase 2?" I looked at my tip money for the day, money that would disappear into my parents' pockets within hours. At my cracked phone screen they refused to let me replace, at the dark circles under my eyes from endless shifts. Phase 2, I typed back. Let's see how they handle real exposure. Because here's the thing about forcing someone to work 3 jobs. It gives them access to 3 times the resources, 3 times the witnesses, 3 times the evidence, and I was just getting started. "Mom, I found something interesting while filing at the law office today," I said casually over breakfast, watching her reaction. "Some old records about Laura's PR firm." The coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. "You shouldn't be snooping through confidential files." "I wasn't snooping, just organizing. There were some weird money transfers between Frankie and—" "Stop!" Mom's voice turned sharp. "Your sister works hard to maintain her reputation. She doesn't need you spreading more lies." Dad looked up from his newspaper. "Haven't you caused enough stress? Your mother's blood pressure is through the roof because of you." "I'm just saying." "You're just saying nothing," Mom cut in. "Go to work. Bring home your pay. That's all you need to focus on." As I left, I heard Mom on the phone. "Laura, we need to talk about your sister." I remembered last month the way Mom's voice had carried through the heating vent. At least now she's useful. Those paychecks will help with the new kitchen remodel. That night, I installed the tiny microphone Preston had given me behind my desk, another in the kitchen, disguised as a command hook for keys. The next morning, it captured gold. "She's asking questions about the law office files," Mom said. "What files?" Laura's voice was sharp. "Something about money transfers with Frankie." "Handle it, Mom. I mean it. She needs to stay in her lane." During my law office shift, I waited until everyone had left for lunch. The file room was empty. My hands shook as I copied the documents, bank statements showing regular payments from Laura to Frankie in the months before the scandal. Consulting fees, they were labeled. But the dates aligned perfectly with my downfall. My phone buzzed with a text from Kira. "Check Frankie's wife's Instagram stories now." There it was. A dinner party video from 2 years ago. Laura and Frankie drunk and laughing. "To putting people in their place," Laura toasted. "Some little sisters need to learn the hard way." I forwarded everything to Preston's secure server. "Ready to go live?" he messaged. I logged into TruthThreader and typed "Money Talks," but bank statements scream Part 1 of 5, the paper trail of betrayal. The post included redacted versions of the transfers. Within hours, comments flooded in. "Wait, isn't that the sister who's been playing victim?" Those dates, right before the scandal. "Someone check on that journalist sister," Laura called immediately. "Take it down." "Take what down?" "Don't play stupid. That post, those documents, take them down or I swear—" "Or what? You'll destroy my career again?" Silence. "Careful, sis," I said softly. "Your mask is slipping." The next morning, Mom was waiting in the kitchen. "Your sister is very upset." "About what?" "Don't be cute. Someone is spreading lies about her online. She could lose her job." "Funny how that works, isn't it?" Mom stepped closer. "What did you just say?" "Nothing. Just thinking out loud about karma." "Listen to me very carefully." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You are nothing without this family. Nothing. Remember that before you do something stupid." I met her eyes. Like leaking confidential files or framing someone for it? The slap echoed through the kitchen. My cheek burned. "Go to work. she hissed. And if anything else appears online about your sister, you'll regret it. I touched my stinging face and smiled. Already recording, Mom. Thanks for the evidence. Her face went white. That night, I posted part 2, When Mothers Choose Favorites, a study in family abuse. The audio clip of our kitchen confrontation went viral within hours. Comments exploded. This is straight up abuse. That poor girl working 3 jobs while they steal her money. Someone call the police. Preston messaged, You okay? Never better, I replied, attaching the next set of files. Ready for tomorrow's bomb? What's part 3? The smoking gun. Laura's original emails planning the whole thing, with timestamps. My phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. I worked at Laura's firm during the scandal. I have proof she ordered us to blacklist you. Let's talk. I smiled, remembering Laura's words from months ago. You'll learn your lesson. Oh, I learned all right. I learned that the truth always finds its way out. I learned that karma needs a little push sometimes. And I learned that the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with receipts. 3 more parts to go. And this time I wasn't the one who would end up destroyed. My hands wouldn't stop shaking during my diner shift. 3 cups of coffee crashed to the floor before my manager pulled me aside. Go home, Lexi. You're dead on your feet. I can't. My parents will have to deal with it. You're no good to anyone if you collapse. As if summoned, my phone lit up with Mom's face. I let it ring. Who are you talking to? She ambushed me the moment I walked through the door. Your manager says you've been whispering with some girl at the coffee shop. Just customers, Mom. Don't lie to me. She grabbed my phone. Who's Kira? Why are there deleted messages? Give it back. Donald, she called. Come deal with your daughter. Dad emerged from his study, face hard. No more visitors, no more private conversations. You live under our roof. You follow our rules. I'm not a teenager. No, you're worse, Mom snapped. You're an ungrateful burden who's lucky we didn't let you rot in the street after what you did. My phone pinged with a notification. Mom's eyes narrowed at the screen. Truth threader? What's this? I snatched the phone back before she could open it. The latest post was gaining traction. Golden Daughter's House of Cards, the PR princess's greatest lie. Nothing, just news alerts. Later that night, I could barely hold my pen at the law office. The words blurred as I tried to file documents. Preston found me dozing at my desk. Jesus, Lex, when's the last time you slept? I'm fine. You're not fine. Your hands are shaking. He was right. The tremors had gotten worse. 3 jobs, constant surveillance, the stress of maintaining my secret campaign. It was taking its toll. My phone buzzed with a message from Kira. Check Laura's Instagram. She's doing damage control. There it was. A perfectly staged family photo. Laura, Mom, and Dad at their country club lunch. The caption read, Family is everything. Blood stands together against lies and jealousy. Some people can't handle others' success. Blessed, sharp family first. The comments were a battlefield. What about your sister? Working 3 jobs while you lunch at the club. Saw her at the diner yesterday. She looks ill. Shame on you. Preston whistled low. Your sister's PR firm is in damage control mode. Their stock dropped 3% after yesterday's post. Good. My phone lit up again. An email from an unfamiliar address. I know what they did to you. I have proof. Meet me? Could be a trap, Preston warned, or could be exactly what we need. The trembling in my hands got worse as I typed my reply. When and where? Mom was waiting when I got home, pacing the kitchen. Something's happening online. People are asking questions, leaving comments on my Facebook. Really? I kept my voice neutral. Your sister had to disable her social media. Her firm is asking questions. She grabbed my arm. What did you do? Nothing you can prove. Her fingers dug deeper. What did you say? You're hurting me. Not yet, I'm not. She twisted harder. If you've done anything to hurt this family, like what you did to me, I pulled free, like stealing my money, destroying my career, making me work until I can barely stand, we're protecting you. No. I held up my phone, recording light blinking. You're exploiting me, and now everyone's going to know. The color drained from her face. You wouldn't dare. Try me. My phone buzzed. Laura calling. I put it on speaker. Whatever you're doing, stop it now, she hissed. Frankie's getting questions at his firm. His license could be reviewed. Karma's funny that way. I will destroy what's left of your life. I laughed. You already tried that. How's it working out? Mom grabbed for my phone, but I was faster. As I headed upstairs, I heard her desperate voice. Laura, she's recording everything. She has proof. What do we do? In my room, I opened my laptop and started typing. Part 4 tomorrow. The truth about family loyalty, featuring live audio of what happens behind closed doors. A new email popped up from the mystery contact. Tomorrow, noon, Capital Coffee. I'll be wearing a red scarf. What they did to you, they did to others too. Time to end it. I touched my bruised arm where Mom had grabbed me, opened the audio recording from tonight, added it to the evidence folder. Let them panic. Let them scramble. Tomorrow would change everything. Because here's the thing about abusers. They're strongest in the shadows. But I was done living in their darkness. Time to turn on all the lights. Capital Coffee buzzed with lunch rush energy as I scanned for a red scarf. My hands clutched my phone, ready to record, ready to run if this was a trap. Then I saw her, young, professionally dressed, nervous eyes darting around. The red scarf was designer, like everything else in Lara's office. Natasha? I approached carefully. She nodded quickly. We should talk somewhere private. We found a quiet corner. Her hand shook as she pulled out a tablet. I was Laura's intern when it happened, she said. She made me file these. The screen showed a series of HR documents, complaint forms, performance reviews, all about me, all dated before the scandal. She had me backdate them, Natasha continued, said we needed a paper trail showing you were unstable before the leak. Why help me now? Because she's doing it again to someone else. Natasha's voice cracked. A junior executive who threatened to expose some financial irregularities. Laura's setting her up just like she did you. My phone buzzed. Mom, I ignored it. I have more, Natasha said. Laura left her laptop open one night when she stormed out. I copied everything. She transferred files to my secure email, emails between Laura and Frankie, wire transfers, edited screenshots of my social media to make me look erratic. Why didn't you come forward sooner? She threatened my career, my family, but after seeing your posts, Natasha straightened. I'm tired of being scared. My phone buzzed again, this time Preston. Where are you? Your mom's here at the diner looking for you. I have to go, I said, but thank you. Wait. Natasha grabbed my arm. There's something else. The night before the scandal broke, Laura was drinking with Frankie. She recorded herself bragging about it, said she finally found a way to put you in your place because you were overshadowing her success. You have this recording? Check the files. Everything's there. I rushed to the diner, but Mom was already gone. Messages flooded my phone. Mom, where are you? Dad, get home now. Laura, we need to talk. Urgently. Preston met me at the back entrance. Your mom's losing it. Said you skipped work. I need your help. Now. I showed him Natasha's files. Can you verify these? He examined the metadata. They're real. Holy shit, Lex. This is everything. Help me put it together, fast. We worked through my break, organizing the evidence. The recording of Laura was crystal clear. Little sister thinks she's so special with her viral articles. Wait until tomorrow. She'll never write again. Your mom's back, Preston warned. I slipped out the back just as she entered the front. My phone lit up with Laura's face. Where are you? She demanded. Working, like always. Bullshit. You met someone today. Who was it? My heart raced. How do you... I have friends everywhere, little sister. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? That in turn reached out to you, didn't she? I don't know what you're talking about. Listen carefully. Laura's voice turned deadly quiet. Whatever she gave you, delete it, now, or I'll make what happened before look like a vacation. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you. Delete everything or watch how fast Mom and Dad throw you out on the street. I thought about the trembling in my hands, the stolen paychecks, the constant surveillance. No, I said. What? I said, no, I'm done being afraid of you. You ungrateful little... Check Truth Threader in an hour, I cut her off. Part 4 is going to be special. I hung up as she screamed threats. Preston looked at the evidence on his screen. You sure about this? It's nuclear. Do it. He hit upload. The post went live. Confession tapes. How a sister destroyed a career. Within minutes it exploded. The recording of Laura bragging, the HR documents, the money trail, all of it. My phone erupted. Mom, get home now. Dad, you've gone too far. Laura, I'll destroy you. I turned off my phone and looked at Preston. Ready for part 5? What's left? I pulled out my final piece of evidence. Years of recorded abuse, gaslighting, and manipulation, all meticulously documented. The truth about our perfect family, I said, all of it. Because here's the thing about truth. Once it starts flowing, it becomes a flood, and I was about to drown them in their own lies. We need to talk. Laura cornered me at the diner during my morning shift. Coffee, now. I followed her to a booth, keeping my phone recording in my apron pocket. Mom's sick, she said without preamble. Your little online crusade is giving her panic attacks. Are you trying to kill her? Interesting how you're more worried about Mom's anxiety than the evidence I posted. She leaned forward. Look, I get it. You're hurt. You're angry. But this hysteria has to stop. Hysteria? Is that what you call proof of your fraud? I call it a disturbed person lashing out. Her voice dripped false concern. Let's make a deal. Take down the posts and we'll forget this happened. Mom and Dad will even let you keep some of your earnings. Some of my earnings? How generous. Don't be difficult, Lexi. Family protects family. Like you protected me? Her mask slipped for a second. I did what was necessary. You were getting too big too fast, making waves. Some people need to learn their place. Say that again? My recording didn't quite catch it. She went pale. That evening, Mom insisted on a family dinner. The tension could have cut steel. Your sister's being very generous, Mom said, passing the potatoes, offering to forgive your little outburst. Beautiful shoes, by the way, Laura added sweetly. New? I looked down at my worn waitress sneakers. Same ones I've had for months, since I can't afford new ones. Don't start, Dad warned. Start what? Telling the truth? Mom's fork clattered. The truth? You want truth? Remember your elementary school talent show when you embarrassed us all with that ridiculous performance? The memory hit hard. 10 years old, singing my heart out, winning first place, only to find my trophy in the trash later because girls don't draw attention to themselves. I remember, I said quietly. I also remember Laura telling everyone I cheated. You were showing off, Lara snapped. Like always. Enough. Dad stood up. Lexi, go to your room. We'll discuss your punishment for these online lies tomorrow. They're not lies. I pulled out my phone. Want to hear yourself plotting with Frankie? Or Mom admitting she's stealing my wages? I've got it all. Mom lunged for my phone, but I moved faster. Everything's already backed up, I said, and tomorrow it all goes public. Every recording, every threat, every moment of abuse. Abuse? Mom laughed hysterically. We gave you everything. You gave me trauma, and now you're going to be famous for it. Laura's composure cracked. I'll sue you for defamation. With what evidence? I have the paper trail, remember? Your little intern was very thorough. Natasha, she whispered, I'll destroy her. Already recorded that threat, too. Want to try again? Dad stepped toward me. You ungrateful little... Don't finish that sentence, I warned. Not unless you want it featured in tomorrow's post. I headed upstairs, but not before hearing Mom's desperate whisper, do something, Laura. Use your PR contacts. Anything. In my room, I finished editing the final video. 5 years of secret recordings, photos of my 3-job schedule, bank statements showing my stolen wages, and at the end, the crown jewel. Mom's voice from my childhood. You were never the daughter we wanted. Preston texted. Lawsuit documents are ready. Want me to file tomorrow? The moment the final video drops. My hands shook as I prepared the upload, not from fear this time, from anticipation. Kira messaged, news outlets are already asking for interviews. You're trending. Tell them to wait for tomorrow. The real story's just beginning. At 2 a.m., I heard them arguing downstairs. Fix this, Mom hissed. I'm trying. Laura shot back. Try harder. Our reputation will be destroyed by morning, I called down. The silence was deafening. Because here's the thing about family secrets. They're like bombs. You can only bury them so long before they explode. And tomorrow? Tomorrow was detonation day. The first video dropped at 6 a.m. sharp. By 6:05, my phone exploded with notifications. By 6:10, Laura was pounding on my door. Take it down, she screamed. Take it down now. But I was already gone, watching from Preston's apartment as my family's carefully constructed facade crumbled in real time. Holy shit, Preston said, scrolling through responses. 2 million views in the first hour. The evidence spread like wildfire. Every major news outlet picked it up. PR executive caught in career-destroying scandal. Family financial abuse exposed. Viral whistleblower reveals years of systematic exploitation. Kira called. Laura's firm just announced her immediate suspension pending investigation. My phone lit up with Mom's face for the 100th time. This time I answered. You've killed us, she sobbed. The neighbors won't even look at me. Your father's colleagues are calling. How could you? Funny, that's exactly what I asked when you destroyed my career. We're your family. Not anymore. The second video dropped at noon. Full audio of Mom admitting to stealing my wages, planning kitchen renovations with my diner tips. By 2 p.m., Frankie's law firm announced an ethics review. At 3 p.m., the local news showed up at our house. Mom ran inside screaming about harassment. Dad's car was conspicuously missing from the driveway. Your old magazine wants an exclusive, Preston said, the same one that fired you. Tell them to wait for video 3. It dropped at 4 p.m., Laura's full confession, recorded the night she visited my apartment. The smoking gun that proved she orchestrated everything. Her PR firm didn't wait an hour before announcing her termination. You've ruined me. Laura's voice cracked through my voicemail. My career's over. My reputation, like you ruined mine. I texted back. Karma's brutal, isn't it? Video 4 hit at 6 p.m., a compilation of financial abuse, bank statements, work schedules, medical records showing exhaustion and malnutrition. The police called, asking about pressing charges. The lawsuit's been filed, Preston confirmed. They've been served. Mom's hysteria reached new heights. Reporters everywhere, neighbors recording us. Donald, do something. But Dad had already packed a bag and checked into a hotel. Your sister's having a breakdown, Kira reported from her coffee shop. She tried to do damage control at her country club. They asked her to leave. The final video, the one I'd saved for last, the one that would destroy whatever was left of their reputation. 8 p.m., the truth about the perfect family. Years of secret recording, Mom throwing away childhood achievements, Dad calling me worthless, Laura systematically sabotaging every success, and the crown jewel, Mom's voice clear as day. You were never the daughter we wanted, just an embarrassment we had to manage. The internet exploded. I'm crying watching this. Lock these people up. Justice for Lexi. Subpoenas hit like missiles. Bank accounts frozen. Assets under investigation. At sunset, I drove past our house one last time. Mom was on the front lawn, screaming at reporters to leave while neighbors filmed from their porches. Laura sat in her car, sobbing into her phone as former colleagues publicly denounced her. The family's social circle evaporated in hours. Country club membership revoked. Church friends suddenly too busy to talk. Dad's golf buddies pretending they never knew him. Your story's trending worldwide, Preston said. You're a symbol now for everyone who's ever been gaslit by family. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Please, we can fix this. We're still your family. I typed back, no, you're just people I used to know. Then I blocked their numbers, all of them. Because here's the thing about karma, it doesn't always come naturally. Sometimes you have to work for it, document it, build it piece by piece until the truth becomes undeniable. Laura thought she destroyed me. Mom and Dad thought they'd broken me. Instead, they taught me the most valuable lesson. The best revenge isn't just exposing lies. It's proving you were telling the truth all along. As the sun set on their perfect family facade, I drove away from the chaos toward my new apartment. Behind me, Mom's screams faded into the distance, replaced by the sweet sound of justice being served. Tomorrow, the morning shows would want interviews. Lawyers would want statements. The world would want answers. But tonight I just watched their kingdom burn, knowing I'd built the match that lit the fire, and I didn't feel an ounce of regret. The morning sun streamed through my new apartment's balcony doors as I sipped coffee, enjoying the silence. No demanding texts, no screaming accusations, just peace. My phone buzzed. Preston. Turn on the news, he said. Your parents' assets are officially frozen. The investigation into financial exploitation is moving forward. I switched on the TV. There was Laura looking haunted as she rushed past reporters. The headline read, PR executive faces criminal charges in career sabotage case. How's the new place? Preston asked. Small, simple, perfect. And the job offers? I glanced at my laptop, inbox overflowing with interview requests and media opportunities. Still deciding, I want to do this right. A knock at the door made me pause. Through the peephole, I saw Kira holding coffee and bagels. Breakfast meeting, she announced, spreading documents across my counter. We need to talk about your new digital platform. My what? The one you're going to build. People trust your voice now. They're listening. We should use that. She pulled up analytics showing millions of followers across my TruthThreader accounts. Comments from abuse survivors saying my story gave them courage. Messages from people confronting their own toxic families. She's right, Preston said through the speaker. Your story resonated because it was real, raw. People need that. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Donald Gill resigns from executive position amid family scandal. Dad's company dumped him, I said. Guess the country club set doesn't like bad publicity. Your mom's house is up for sale too, Kira added. Apparently they can't afford the mortgage without your income. And Lara? Left the state. Some tiny PR firm in the Midwest took pity on her. Major stepped down from her corner office. The intercom chimed, building security. Ms. Gill, there's a woman named Whitney here insisting on seeing you. Your mother? My hands didn't shake as I replied, Tell her I'm not available, ever. Kira squeezed my arm. Proud of you. We spent the morning planning my new digital media company, one focused on exposing abuse and empowering survivors. Preston would handle tech, Kira would manage social media, and I'd tell the stories that needed telling. What should we call it? Preston asked. Phoenix Media, I said, because sometimes you have to burn everything down to rise again. My first podcast interview went live that afternoon. The host asked the question everyone wanted answered. How did you find the strength to expose your own family? They taught me everything I needed to know, I replied. How to document carefully, how to wait patiently, how to recognize abuse disguised as love. But mostly they taught me that you can't choose your blood, but you can choose your boundaries. The clip went viral within hours. That evening, I sat on my small balcony watching the sunset. My phone showed a missed call from an unknown number, Laura's new Midwest area code. I deleted it without listening to the voicemail. A text from Natasha popped up. They offered me your sister's old job. Karma really is something. I smiled, remembering Laura's words from what felt like a lifetime ago. Someone had to save the family name. Well, she was right about that. Someone did have to save it by exposing the rot beneath the surface. Preston and Kira came over with takeout and contract papers for our new company. As we worked, my phone lit up with another news alert. Whitney Gill, hospitalized for anxiety after failed confrontation with daughter. You okay? Kira asked. I looked around my small apartment, at the friends who became family, at the future we were building from the ashes of my past. Better than okay, I said. I'm free. Because here's the truth about toxic families. They don't break you by accident. They break you by design. They count on your silence, your shame, your fear of being alone. But they forget that alone doesn't mean lonely. That truth doesn't need defending. That some bonds are stronger than blood. I picked up my coffee mug, the one that read "The best revenge is living well," and stepped onto my balcony. Below, the city hummed with life and possibility. My hands were steady. My heart was light. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. And this time I was writing my own story.